we're going to start in just in about 2 minutes because it's not quite 1:30 yet. Good to see a bunch of you back from yesterday. That's awesome. Hopefully we'll have more people here today that weren't here yesterday. And I think we're going to I really enjoyed yesterday with all of you. I think the speakers were awesome that we had, and they did a great job with everything. So it was really a lot of fun for me just to do that. And thanks for bearing with me. This Zoom thing is kind of new to me, and I kind of had to spend some time talking to Zoom to figure out how to do this where we could make it interactive without having to do a lot of craziness. Webinars don't work for something like this to be able to talk to each other, because you can only listen and view on a webinar. You can't talk, you can only talk in the chat. So, but feel free during all this to talk in the chat with each other, and that's fine. And then we're gonna have several people looking to make sure we try to stay up with if there's any questions in the chat during any of the presentations that we have. So today I just want to do a little housekeeping again, just to remind everybody to keep your audio muted. And then when we have after a speaker or a presentation's done and you want to ask questions and talk about the presentation, use the raise hand function. On some people's, I believe it's under reactions. On mine, it's under reactions, and it has a lot of emojis. And then down at the bottom, it's got a little thing that says raise hand. I believe someone else said it was under participants. So I guess it depends on which version of Zoom you're operating with. So I guess that will make the difference. So that's what we'll do. I want to share my screen for a minute here with you, just to go over some things for today, so we kind of have an idea of what's going on. Again, welcome to everybody. Welcome back to everyone that was here yesterday, and welcome to anybody who's new, who's coming for the first time today. We are going to talk today. I'm going to get to the schedule for today. It's Sunday. Happy Sunday to everybody. Hope you had a good morning. We'll just kind of overview our activities. We'll have a preview of the 2022 in-person first annual Greek Adoptee Reunion, which will be held in Nashville, Tennessee. And we'll also announce the location for the second annual reunion in 2023. And then if that shouldn't take very long, so we'll probably have some time for if there's any questions left over from yesterday, or you guys want to ask any of us that are on the board of directors any questions about anything. Also, we might have time for a story or two. So we're going to try to fit stories in today because everybody seemed to really enjoy that yesterday. At 2, we have Maria Vakouftsi from the Alexandria Institute in Athens. She's going to talk about, I kind of made the title up myself because I thought it was, so many of us have issues with Greek, and we always make feeble joke, it's all Greek to me. So we're going to talk about our Greek language a little bit, because a lot of us were not raised Greek American or by Greek Americans, so we don't really know much about our language, and so it really is all Greek to us. Then after Maria's presentation, she'll do question and answers for you guys. If you got any questions about the language, its history, the peculiarities of Greek. And then at 3, we're going to have Elena Giannoulaki, who is not only a brilliant person, but a good friend of mine from Thessaloniki, and she did a master's thesis on the scandal at Agios Stylianos. So that's an interesting thing, because that hasn't, there's been a lot of press about that, but I don't think very many people have really researched into it, and she's done that. So she's going to tell us about that. And then at 4 p.m. At the end, after question and answers with Elena, we're going to just have a kind of a little short recap, some Q&A. I may have to duck out, and I'm going to make Meryl our host if I do, because my husband and I are making an emergency trip to Greece. We are so we can help with the firefighting efforts. My husband is a firefighter, and he and one of my cousins started the only volunteer fire team that's in the area in Nashville. And I'm a registered nurse by profession, if some of you probably don't know that. And so I'm medical for the team. So I do help with like rehab and making sure that they have everything. And I have a paramedic bag to take with me and all too. So we're going to go early to see if we can help. And so we leave tomorrow. So I have to duck out to get a COVID test so I can get on a plane. So, and I have to do it before they close at 4:30. So if people want to stick around and talk and go past 4 o'clock, which is fine, I'm going to make Meryl the host and or Stephanie, who whichever one's on, and we'll do that. And you guys can hang out and talk a little bit longer. And then, so that's kind of today's schedule. I just want to put up a couple of things. Yesterday, somehow the YouTube link, I think this is an O and not a 0, and I think I put the wrong link in there. So this is for the YouTube link for the Lost Children of Cold War Greece. It's a really amazing documentary that was done by Sofia Papianou of Alpha TV in Greece, and it aired nationally in Greece in April of 2019. I'm on the documentary. So is Robin Bedell, who's Zulua, who's also another Greek adoptee and from America. And then there's also a Dutch adoptee, Susan, who's on there as well. She came from Crete. All of the adoptee interviews are in English, but for all of the Greek parts, we have English subtitles. And you can thank the monks at the monastery, the Metamorphoses in Naftaktos. Believe it or not, they have subtitle programs. They have their own radio station, and they also do a lot of video editing for various things that various videos that they make. So thanks to them for doing that for us. That was just an amazing thing, because so much of it's lost if you don't understand the Greek language to hear to know what people are saying. So that is the link, and that's our YouTube channel. Also, we're recording this session, and we recorded the session yesterday. So as soon as those videos are finishing converting, we will post them on links on the Facebook page, but also on our YouTube channel. So if you go to our YouTube channel, it's the Eftychia Project on YouTube. You can sign up, subscribe to the channel. It's free, and then we'll have those posted there. This is just contact information for us. We have a lot of different ones for emails. We try to keep the emails separate to help us kind of sort through things. So if you're a Greek adoptee seeking assistance, you would do the Greek Adoptee Help at the EftychiaProject.org. Greek families would do the similar one for Greek Family Help. If there's other inquiries or anything, or media or other inquiries, we have the info one. And then the general email is the Gmail account that we've had for quite some time. I do have a personal email there. You're welcome to email me at Eftychia@the and then I've listed all of our social media things. We don't have a huge presence on Instagram and Twitter yet. So, we're working on that. We're trying to do more. It's just difficult to get posts out every single day on all of these social media platforms. So we're definitely doing that. Anyway, that's about all I have for that. Now, the one thing I want to do is we have in 2022, we're going to have the first annual Greek Adoptee reunion in person. We planned it for 2020. COVID happened. We planned it for 2021. Nobody was really sure what was going to happen with COVID. And I think, and probably we erred on the side of caution, but it looks like we were justified in doing that and having this virtual this year. So in 2022, hopefully everything will be a lot better. And we plan on having it here in Nashville. So I want to quickly show you, it's a little short presentation with music, so it's not completely boring. And it's going to give you a preview of what we're going to do with the 2022 reunion. So let me again share my screen. I'm going to bring that up, and then if you have questions afterwards, then we will definitely talk about that. So give me a second to get it going here, and here we go. And that should say 22, not 21. I put the wrong date on there. right. Hey guys, I'm back. Let me get here in the gallery view so I can kind of see everybody. Let's see. There we go. All right. So I'm looking in the chat there. I'm seeing people, they're in to come to Nashville. So great. And Nick Zale says staging a reunion is a thankless task. Yes, it is. So anyway, does anybody have any questions about the reunion and how it works and what we're going to do and stuff? You know, we're here to answer any questions anybody does. If you have a question, if not, that's fine. We're going to have more details very soon coming up about that, what's going to be happening, what's going to be going on. And then somebody said maybe we could do a recreation of the Greek Civil War. Yeah, maybe. Since Franklin's actually one of the bloodiest battles of the American Civil War was fought in Franklin, Tennessee, which is why there's so much historic stuff in Franklin. And I will say that the ghost tours that they have are really pretty phenomenal, and they're kind of scary. I actually know a couple of people that own some of the buildings they take you to, and these people have told me themselves they've seen these ghosts. So I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm not sure I really want to go in any of those places at night, but it's something fun that we can all do together. The other thing is the trip to the Parthenon here is absolutely phenomenal. I know some of you have probably been here and seen it, but a lot of you probably didn't even know that the Parthenon, a full-scale replica of the Parthenon existed here, and it's beautiful. The actual statue of Athena that is in the Parthenon here, the lady that did that statue actually went back to the ancient writings and looked as much as she could to find the dimensions, what it looked like, how it appeared. And so they tried to be as accurate as possible. And the Parthenon itself was actually supposed to be a temporary building for the World's Fair Exposition that was here in the early 1900s. It was like, I don't know, 1905 or something like that. They made the building out of plaster of Paris, and it was only supposed to last for the 6 months of the festival. But the people in Nashville thought that the Greek area, the Parthenon, was the best thing in the whole place, and they didn't want it to go away. So they replaced it with actual real stone and just rebuilt the whole thing and kept it. So now it's part of the Metro Davidson Parks and Recreation, and they have tours, and or you can just do it yourself. But it's an interesting place to go, and they do have a lot of replicas of like the friezes and all that were on the outside of the Parthenon in Athens. So it's really quite spectacular to be able to at least visualize what our Parthenon in Greece actually once looked like. So it's really fun. A Greek taverna night that we're going to do, we will do that at the hotel. And we will have music and dancing, and we're going to have hopefully some of the Greek dancers from the Greek Orthodox Church here to come and teach us how to do that. If you're not familiar with Greek dancing, of course, it wouldn't be complete without drinking ouzo and thipro and all that good stuff that we do in Greece. So we're hoping it's going to be really fun. We talked about doing the 2023 one in Greece, and our plan is, it's kind of in the early stages, but the plan is to do it in the summer of 2023 at some point, summer, late summer, early summer, whichever one works out better price wise, and to spend a week together meeting in Athens, going to see the orphanages where all of us came from, going to visit those cities and those prime spots. We'll see the orphanage in Athens and Patra. Hopefully we'll make it to Thessaloniki to see the one there, and visit each one of those places, and then come early, come a week early, or come a week late, stay a week late over, and then enjoy Greece. And it's a thing that you can bring your family to. Obviously you wouldn't come by yourself. Your family would want to come to that. So we'll have a lot more details of that later on in a few months from now, but we will post the details for the 2022 one quickly. I know that, okay, so now I had a question here. I just saw one in the chat. Let's see, David, I'm going to unmute you because you asked this question. So I'm going to let you ask it out loud. Let me unmute you here. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was just curious how many Greek adoptees are aware of your project, Eftychia?
Eftychia. Eftychia. You can say in Greek it's pronounced Eftychia because you don't really pronounce the CH, but you can say Eftychia because it's easier. I tell everybody here it's Eftychia.
I like Eftychia. Yeah. How many are aware of all this work that's going on?
There's actually quite a few because we've been contacted by a lot of Greek adoptees. They're between the Greek adoptees and the Greek families that have contacted us for help. We've probably had like somewhere close to 400 total, but of families and adoptees. But adoptees, like it's almost at this point almost half and half. But I think I counted like 167 that had actually contacted us for some form of help or another. And, you know, some people decide they want to search and some people decide later they don't want to. You know, we've only been in existence for 2 years. So we've reconnected 10 adoptees with their biological families in Greece. And I think we can do, there's more that we will be able to do. I mean, it's a lot of work. But the DNA program is helping because there was one adoptee who stayed in Greece. Who was adopted from Thessaloniki, stayed in Thessaloniki. The first group of 12 DNA kits that we actually took to Greece to kind of start this as a pilot thing to see how it was going to work. She actually, her DNA matched her with a sister. When they contacted each other, the sister had been looking for her for 7 decades, and she'd been looking for her family, you know, pretty long time. I mean, they had spent 7 decades apart. And that she had another sister. So there was actually 2 sisters she found through the DNA of the one, and they had lived 50 miles apart, which is 80 kilometers for 7 decades, and didn't know they had lived that close together all that time, an hour apart. So it was pretty amazing. So we're hoping that as we get more and more of the Greek people to do this DNA in Greece, because Greeks in Greece as a rule don't do DNA. So we're hoping that they'll start to do this more. They'll look at this as more of a thing to do, and that'll help all of us because the more Greeks in Greece that do it, and especially if we get some of the older people to do it, the more it'll help us. So, but yeah, there's quite a few people that are aware. We have a lot of visibility in Greece, which is kind of what helps us with the DNA and being able to network with people there and stuff because we are in Greece so much. So. We have a huge visibility there, but we have a pretty good one here. I mean, the Facebook page keeps getting new likes every day. We just finally got the website kind of like we wanted it. So there's still some work to do on it, but you know, we welcome all Greek adoptees. It doesn't matter. You can belong to some of their Facebook group or whatever. You know, we're a nonprofit organization, so you can't exactly, like I said yesterday, join us, but you're welcome to participate in anything we do, follow the project. And you know, join in whenever. Does that kind of answer your question?
Oh yeah, it does.
Okay, yes. Good.
I was just curious.
Yeah, it's growing all the time. So and then anybody else have any questions that they want to ask? Gail, you've got your hand up. Do you want to ask a question, or did you just hit the thing by accident? Oh, okay, I guess you. Wait a minute. I gotta unmute her.
I hit it by accident.
Oh, okay. All right.
How do I take it down? Do I just hit it?
You look back wherever it was where you clicked to raise your hand, it should say lower hand.
All right. Well, believe me, it was a chore just to get on here.
Well, I'm somewhat technologically challenged.
There might be a smiley face that says reactions.
Yeah. Look down.
Yes. All right. I'll check.
Yeah.
And also, Gail, I sent you a message.
Okay, thank you.
All right. No worries. All right. So does anybody, well, if I can unclick you. Unmute yourself, Stephanie. I'm trying to unmute you. Wait, there we go. Oops, wait. I think we clicked at the same time. Hold on. I don't know. Wait, Stephanie, unmute yourself again. There you go.
Here.
Okay. Hey, do you have anything you want to say to kick off today?
I do want to say one thing. I want to welcome everybody back. I hope everybody had a good night's sleep, and I hope everybody enjoyed themselves yesterday. It was pretty incredible that we had such a great presentations. Sam, that was awesome. We appreciated all your information, and we'll look forward to getting some more information from you, hopefully to help us move forward. And of course, from Greg Contos, who as always has lots of information. I know that Eftychia mentioned about how people about knowing about the Eftychia project. And I know that yesterday Nick Webb, I believe, mentioned that he and I as well found out about all of this craziness from an article that was kind of exposed by a woman named Maxine Deller many years ago. And that's how I found out about it. She actually exposed this story. The story was exposed in 1996 and was in People magazine. She was on the Maury Povich show. And again, as Eftychia was saying about one of our adoptees who had found out that she had a sister many miles away, Maxine had found that she also had two sisters that lived within a 40-mile radius of her for all of her life that she had no idea existed. And for me, this is how I found out about all this. And I met several of the adoptees, including Maria Heckinger, who is unfortunately not with us, but who's with her husband. And we met a long time ago. And I think that's one of the things that kind of kicked this off in the United States. And for that, we are grateful. Unfortunately, Maxine has passed away, but her sister Ellen is one of our adoptees as well. And I would always, in my heart, always want to make sure I say thank you to Maxine. We're up in heaven, who has helped to expose this and get this thing kickstarted. So I thank her for that. And I think about her every time I do work, because I know besides what we're doing and what he is doing and all the things that are happening, this kind of would have started, but that was, for me, it was kind of a kickstart. And I always like to make sure that I mention her. I know, like I said, Nick knows who she is, Nick Webb. And there's several people, unfortunately, who are not here today, but who also know her. So from me and from some of the others, I hope we all remember that everybody that started kickstarting this project, and thankfully now we've got an organization through the Eftychia project that we can actually do something and make it count and make it work. So yeah, that's what I had to say today. So
thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning Maxine, because she was the one who kind of exposed how rampant all of this was. You know, there's so many of us that still don't know where we came from, and we're still not even sure who we are, because we're not sure all the papers we have are even true. So you just never know. But Maxine was the first one who actually brought it to the forefront as far as like national news and people actually realizing that happened. Unfortunately, as time went on, people just kind of forgot about us. Like there's a big uproar at that point. Everybody's like, oh, we're horrified. And then it just kind of faded in the background and people just went on to the next big news story. So that's why we felt like trying to put together an organization that had legitimacy and had a lot of people behind it, that there's strength in numbers. And so being able to go and advocate on behalf of all you guys and have you guys behind us is an amazing thing. The other thing I do want to say before I forget about it, because I may forget about it later, I would like this. We're in the process right now of preparing a formal statement for the Greek government about those value statements we had and what we want from them. That, we want them to recognize that this happened and they need to do something about it. We want them to recognize that they need to do something about the records, which they are doing. That is being done, and that won't take an act of parliament. We do want them to give us a DNA database, and we definitely want them to give us our citizenship. So what I would like for anybody who's an adoptee, or the child of even a deceased adoptee, because I know we do have several that the adoptee is already deceased, but the child wants to pursue this whole thing and find their heritage as well. I would like for you to write a letter, just to, it only doesn't have to be more than a page, but just something, a heartfelt reason, why all this is important to you, how much you love Greece, what it means to you to be Greek, and what it would mean to have that Greek ID and that Greek passport. That's, and the more emotional, the better. Because I can honestly tell you that all the letters I've gotten so far, I've shed tears over all of them. And I know all the people that wrote them and I know their stories. So if those letters bring me to tears, they ought to strike a nerve with these people in the government. And so any of you that are willing to do it, if you will write, just like I said, it doesn't have to be more than a page. If you want to, if it ends up more than a page, it's fine. But, just write it to the Greek government and just say your heartfelt, how you want this, what is it you really want, and what it means to you. And we're going to include these with the statement to the government, because we're putting together a whole formal binder with the whole thing in there. So I want to include these letters because I think it's important. And then if we get the chance to speak before the parliament, I also want adoptees to go there and actually be there to speak. So if that happens, it's going to be a while, but if it would be an amazing thing if we're able to, at least in person, because then we're flesh and blood and we're just not some piece of paper they're reading. So that's if you can do that for me, that'd be great. And you can just send it to our general email, theeftychiaproject@gmail.com. You can just send it to that one. So anybody that's willing to do that, it would be amazing. Meryl, I'm going to let you briefly say hi before we bring on Maria to do our first presentation. So let me unmute Meryl. There you go, Meryl. Unmute yourself. Let's see. There we go. Whoops. I did that every time. Can you unmute yourself, Meryl? I'm sorry.
Yes, I did that.
I'm sorry. I click on it the same time you do, and then it mutes you again. So I just wanted to know if you have anything to say to everybody for the beginning of the day.
Oh, well, I just want to say welcome to the meeting. We had a good turnout yesterday. We have a good turnout today. I hope everybody enjoys our presentation. It's going to be a little bit shorter meeting, which I'm certain is fine by everybody too. And welcome. That's pretty much it.
All right. I think Nick Webb, do you have a question?
No, but I see that Dorothy and Hannah do.
Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out who's got, because I can't, sometimes on my screen, I can't see everybody's stuff. So, great. Where is, I'm trying to find, okay. Dorothy has one because I don't see her. I don't see anything there. Okay.
Dorothy Stavros has a question.
Okay, let me
She says, I have a question, but don't know how to raise my hand. So I don't know where Dorothy is.
Okay, Dorothy, I unmuted you. Go ahead. How are you? Go ahead, Dorothy. I don't think her audio is on. I see her, but her audio's off. Okay, we'll come back. We'll come back to her. And Hannah has a question. Let's see.
Yes.
Hannah, do you have a question?
Hi, I want to ask you guys, have you been to Greek, all of you, to visit? Okay.
Yeah, I've been 28 times in the last 4 years, but that's me.
Am I the only one who is not in the States at the moment? Am I the only one who is not in the States at the moment?
No, there's other people from Greece they're on with us today.
Okay.
There's other people. You're not. Where are you located, Hannah?
In Sweden.
Oh, in Sweden. Okay.
I'm born in Greece.
Oh,
in Athens, in Alexandria Hospital. And I stayed at Metera Baby Center for maybe 1 year and 2 months. And I was born there with my identical twin sister.
Okay. Now, were you guys separated? You and your twin sister, you're together? Good. I'm glad, because a lot of times they separated twins and that was horrible.
Yeah, I know. So, it's bad.
Yeah, I'm glad you were kept with your twin. Yeah, so there's people here from Greece too. And we do have several people from Australia that follow the project and have asked for our help. So we do have people from all over. So Actually, somebody from South Africa, somebody from Cyprus, from Australia. So there's a lot of Greeks are everywhere, and so are Greek adoptees. We're a lot of places. So all right.
All of you know the Greek language.
Oh. No, everybody doesn't, because everybody wasn't raised with
Does somebody learn the language later?
I've learned Greek. I'm not fluent, but I'm learning Greek actually, and that will lead us into our speaker. So we'll come back and talk about the language stuff after our speaker, because our speaker is going to talk about language. So give me just 1 second here, and I'm going to ask Maria to unmute herself. Let me, there she is.
Hello. Can you hear me?
There we go. Yes, we can hear you.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
It's nice to see you. This is Maria.
I'm Maria. Yeah.
She's from the Alexandria Institute. And actually that is where I've been taking Greek lessons for the last couple of years. And we invited Maria to come and talk to us about our Greek language. Originally, Andreas, the head teacher, was supposed to be doing this, but he is somewhere with a really bad internet connection, and he was really afraid something would happen and he wouldn't be able to give a presentation. So Maria has graciously offered to step in and do the presentation for him. So I talked to her the other day. We had a great conversation. We talked a lot about things. One thing I did want to mention before we get into this, that Greece is being devastated with these wildfires. And I just want everyone to keep the people of Greece, the firefighters and all the EMTs and all the medical people in their thoughts and prayers, because they need it. Greece has been devastated this summer. It's been a terrible summer so far. So, but Maria's here with us today, and she's going to talk to us about our Greek language. And I'm so excited to have her here. And I'm going to get myself out of the spotlight, and we're going to turn it over to Maria.
Thank you, Eftychia. So hello to you, Yassas. I'm Maria, nice to meet you. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for having me here. It's my pleasure, really, and my honor to attend your meeting. And yeah, here in Greece, the situation is really bad with all the fires. The whole Greece is on fire. And also for me here, I'm a little bit afraid because of the fires. We have a lot of power cuts. So that's why I'm a little bit nervous today, but I hope we'll manage that. I'll manage that. But yeah, the situation is really difficult, and I hope that it will pass really soon, because all people here in Athens, in Evia, and everywhere basically in Peloponnese, in Greece, are really devastated with all these things. So, okay, I'm gonna go straight off the chase because I don't want to waste your time. So I'm Maria, like Eftychia says, and thank you again. I work in the Institute, Alexandria Institute. I teach Greek as a foreign language since 2016. And I have studied classical philology as a BA, first of all. So in this presentation that I prepared for you, this presentation has to do with the Greek language. I tried to summarize the most important things. They are a lot. I hope that I have, let's say, gathered the most important. So I share screen a little bit fast in order not to waste your time. And if anyone has a question, I suppose we are going to discuss it at the end, or I can see hands, and so I'll answer. So I'm gonna share my screen. I hope that anyone will be able to see that. If you're having troubles see my screen, you can tell me, because for me it's perfectly fine here. So the first thing that I would like to introduce you today is, like, I was thinking how I'm gonna start my presentation, about Greek language. So okay, at the end, I end up and starting with words that we're all familiar to. So here I have gathered the names of some of the US states and how you write them and pronounce them in English, and how we in Greek, we write and pronounce them in Greek, to see some basic, let's say, differences as an introduction to that. So for example, here, I am using my tools, so I suppose that you can see the arrows. If you're having any troubles with that, here, please, you can tell me. So for example, the first one, if you can see the bullets, is Washington. So I have written how we say that in Greek. We call it in Greek Washington, and we write it like that. Because in Greek, those two, let's say, letters have the sound of U. So, and those two have the sound of G. So in Greek, basically, it's called Washington. The next one is California in Greek. And, you know, I have written also the pronunciation. So California with this one, because we don't have another K in Greek. This is the only K that we have, and we pronounce it as K, so California. The next one is Chicago. So in Greek, we call it Chicago. And here I'd like to say something. For example, one thing that a lot of my students used to confuse is the first letter. So the first letter in Greek is the letter shu. We only have the sigma. We only have one S, this one. So most people, when they read that in Greek, they say Zikago. They call it like a zeta, so like the Z. But it's not a Z, basically. It's a pure su. So in Greek, it's Chicago. And the letter, this letter is the gamma. So again, this is a letter that does not exist in the Latin alphabet. And there is a lot of confusion about the pronunciation of that. So also a lot of people pronounce it as a G. So it could be Chicago for them, but it's not a G in Greek. We pronounce it as R. So this one, for example, in Greek is Chicago. And so I will keep going because these are examples that I wanted to have a taste on how do we pronounce them. So the next one is Maine. So in Greek, we call it Maine because these two letters, alpha and iota, together have the sound of E in Greek. And that's why in the pronunciation, if you can see, I have used the E, the Greek E, because if I write the pronunciation with the E, it's an E in English. It's not an E, it's an E. So this is Maine in Greek. The next one is not Massachusetts, it's in Greek is Massachusetts. Another common mistake, for example, is this letter here. This is not an X in Greek, for example. This is not Massachusetts, it's Massachusetts, it's the H. It's the letter that we have for H in Greek. So this one is Massachusetts. The next one is Nea Yorki. This one is an E. We have 3 E's in the Greek alphabet. This is the last E, the third. So this is Nea Yorki in Greek for New York. The next one is Michigan in Greek. We pronounce it Michigan, not Michigan. So it's Michigan. Okay, we tend to use it like Michigan too, but most of the people, they use it like Michigan. And these two letters, the T and the S, so in Greek, the Taf and the Sigma together have the sound of we pronounce it like two. For example, pizza, the double Z. So in Greek, this one is Michigan, not Michigan, for example. The next one is Ohio. Again, the he, like I told you before, I mentioned before, it's a he and not an X, not Oxio in Greek, but Ohio. And the next one is in Greek, Wisconsin. So again, the U, the letters that have one sound, the U, the E with the 2 dots, these 2 dots, we use them to separate the vocals. And so this one is called Wisconsin. And the next one that for me, when I read that in English, for me, I find that difficult to read that in English. So I don't know how you see that, how you understand that in Greek, but for me in English, it's difficult. So in Greek, we call it Wyoming. And here, for example, it has the gamma. It's not Wyoming, it's G. It has the U. It has the alpha and the iota, but here it's not an E because it has the 2 dots, for example. So we separate them. So it's Wyoming, and it has also the GU. So basically, here, I'm sorry, but I just saw your chat. Okay, I'll try to do that in order to answer any questions if you have during the presentation. So basically, my point in this first, let's say, slide was to show you how we use words that you already know and how we write and pronounce them in Greek. So I'm gonna move on to the next one. I'll try to keep it, let's say, simple and not to elaborate more in order not to be tiring for you. Okay, I promise it's not a lecture. After that, it becomes like lighter, but I have to mention some stuff here. So here in the second slide, I have placed the Greek alphabet. I don't know if you all are familiar with that, if all of you speak Greek or you have any idea or know some words. Eftychia know that she knows Greek. So for me, when I would like to discuss about Greek language, not only teach someone Greek, I need to start from the alphabet. And that is because the Greek alphabet it's basically different from the Latin alphabet. I mean, English and mainly all the European languages are based in the Latin alphabet. The Greek alphabet is a different one. That's why we have some letters that they are the same or they're pronounced the same way, but there are others that don't have like that don't look like the Latin letters, or they don't have the same sound. So for me here, I'm not gonna be like tiring by reading you all the letters, but I have to mention some letters that either they do not exist in the Latin alphabet, so the English, for example, or you might find them confusing because they look alike, but they have different pronunciation. So the first letter is the second letter of the alphabet. In the first column, there are the letters. In the second column, there is the pronunciation. And in the last one, it's the name of the letters. So the first letter that I have to mention is the letter Vita. So the name is Vita, but the pronunciation is V. So a common mistake that people do, I know that the sororities in America, they used to have like Greek letters, like as a name. I have seen many movies, I hope that's true. So this one is Vita and not Beta, because I have heard that like a lot of times as a beta. It's not a beta, it's a Vita, the name. And the sound of that, I know that looks like the English B, the capital one, but it's not a B, it's a V. It's like the English V. So if I want to read the words that are here as exams, it's Bolivia, which is Bolivia, and it's not Bolivia, it's Bolivia. Or it's Verolino, Berlin, and not Berolino, but Ve. So first, I wanted to say that. The second letter is the letter that I mentioned before, is the letter Gamma. So it's the third of the alphabet. And the name is Gamma. The pronunciation, as you can see, there is not in English or in Latin, it's the Gamma. That means that this letter does not exist in the Latin alphabet. So this letter is, again, the letter that most people get confused by. It's Ru and not a Gu. So if I want to read the example, I'm not going to say Galia, which is France. I'm going to say Galia, for example, or I'm gonna say Granada. The next one is also a letter that I want to mention, is the letter Delta. The name is Delta, and also the pronunciation, as you can see, is a Greek letter. That means that doesn't exist in the Latin alphabet. So the sound of that is the sound of V and not do, as I have heard that is VU, so it's Dania, Denmark, and not Dania. We have other letters for D, for the D sound. This is the Delta, so the VU, or Damaskos. and not Damascus. And the next one, I mentioned also that before, is the letter epsilon, and it's the sound is e and not ne. So mainly I can write here above the pronunciation that has the English C. It's not an E, it's an E. I just wrote the Greek one. So this one for us is an E and not an E. And I'm gonna skip the Z, that this is the zeta, and it's the same like in English, the pronunciation is totally the same. And I'm gonna go to this one. So this one, I can get why this might be confusing. This one is the first E of the Greek alphabet. Like I told you, we have 3. This is called eta. The sound is E and not H or not N, because the capital one looks like an H and the small one looks like an N. But both of them have the sound of E. So it's IPA, the example, the United States of America, or Athena in Greek. The next, the next letter is another letter that does not exist in the Latin alphabet. This is the theta. The theta has the sound of the TH. Basically, if I can help you with that, this one is called thu in Greek and is Thivet or Thessaloniki. It's like having the TH together. The next one is, okay, the iota, so the second T of the alphabets, like the English I, the K, so the kappa in Greek, the sound ku, the L, which is the lambda, the lu, so Livanos, like it says, the M, which we call me, the name is me, the same pronunciation, and then I'm going to go to this one. So this one is the letter ni, and it has a sound of N. For us, this is the N, this is the nu. I know it might be confusing because the small ones like the English V, but it's not a V in Greek. This is the ni, the N sound. So the example is Notia Afriki and not Votia, or Nea Orleani and not Vea, for example. The next letter is the letter Xi. This one does not exist also. It's only in Greek alphabet here. This one is called Xi, and it's like the English X, or mainly like having the K and the S together. So it's Xu, the sound is Xu, and if I want to read the Mexico, it's Mexico in Greek, or Xanthi, an area in Greek, in Greece. The next one is the Omicron, the first O, because we have 2. And the next one, pay attention also to that. This one is the Greek letter that is called P, and it's the P, the pu in Greek. It's different than the English one. And for example, if I want to read the words that are example are Pakistan and Pekino. And I can understand why it's confusing, because the next one that looks like the English P, for us, it's not a P. This one for us, the name is Ro, and it's the R sound. So this one for us is the Ro and not the P. That's why I can read the next like Rosia or Riga, Rosia in a Russia. So it's not Posia, it's Rosia. These 2 letters are the letters that I can understand why it's confusing. The next one are the S's that we have that I told you before. It's the Su and not Zu. We have the Zu, the Zeta for Zu. This is Su. It's called Sigma. And we have 3 because the last one is the one that goes at the end, like in English. The next one is the Taf. This one I have to mention that I also have here the name of this one, like a Tai or something like that. The name is Taf, and the pronunciation is Tu, so like the English T. And the third E of the alphabet, like I promise you, it is the Ypsilon. This is not a Nu, this is not a U, it's an E, it has the sound E, and the name is Ypsilon. So if I want to read the example, is Iemeni or Nea Yorki. The next one is the Phi, the F in English. So the Phi, the name is Phi, the sound is F, Philippines, if I want to read that, Frankfurti. The next one is, we mentioned that before in the names of the states, again, is the he in Greek. This is a he and not the X, so the sound is an H, so who. That's why it's Chile, Chile, or Khartoum, and not Xili or Xartum, it's the who. And I'm going to the third board now. This is another letter that does not exist in the Latin alphabet. It's the psi. It has the sound of the P and the S together. So it's Uppsala. It's like having psu. And the last letter of the Greek alphabet is this one, is the second O. Like I told you, we have two. This one is called omega and not omega because it's gu and not gu. It's omega, the name, and of course the pronunciation is like an O. So Polonia or Romi. So the alphabet basically ends in that. But I have written here those two letters that we're going to see more in the next slide. In Greek, except all these letters that we have a lot, as you can see, we have also some combinations of vocals and non-vocals that have one sound. So this one is the first. When you see an O and an Y, so O and T together, like, I mean, first the O and after the E, not the other way around, okay? These have the sound of U, like I told you before. So when you say them together, capital or no capital, you can use them, you can read them as U. So that's why it's Ukrainia or Vukuresti. So basically, this is the alphabet, and here are some examples in the left side of your screen, some examples that I have written. For example, the word for gata. Gata is the cat in Greek, and it's gata and not gata, because it's the gamma. Dendro, which is the tree, and it's dendro because it's the du, not the do. It's not dendro, it's dendro. The psi, psari, which is the fish. The o, ora, and not topa. Remember the ro. Ora, which is the time. Xi, which is xilo. It's the X in Greek, the K and the S, which is good. Thu, which is thira. Thira is the door. And ella, it's the E. Like I told you, it's not an E, it's not illa, it's ella, and means come. And also the P, pote, this is the P in Greek. Sorry, pote, which means when. The he, which is chora, and not xora, which is country. The ro, like I told you, this is the ro in Greek, and not the P, which is roloi, and not poloi, which is the clock. Of course, the I, the ita, which is ilios, which is like an H and an N, but it's an I in Greek, which is ilios, the sun. And the last one, which is viblio, and not biblio, because in Greek, this one is a V and not a B. So basically, for me, during my teaching experience, these are the common, let's say, not mistakes, but the confusing, let's say, points that people find hard to understand, and I can totally understand why, because these letters do not exist in the Latin alphabet. So that's why I wanted to show you that, and I'm gonna go really, really fast to show you this page to tell you that the thing that I mentioned before is that except the letters that we have in the alphabet, okay, we also have the combinations of letters that they have. There are two letters with one sound. And for that reason, here, if you can see in the right side, it's the epsilon, which is the E, but we also have the alpha and the iota together, these two together, and this like first the alpha and after the iota, it's also an E. And we have three E's like we saw in the alphabet, but we also have combinations. We have the epsilon and the iota, the omicron and the iota, and the epsilon and the iota. And these three are also E's. So it raises up to 6 E's in Greek. Also, we have the omicron and the omega, but we told that, which is the O, the U, like we said before, and these two. So these two are the alpha and the epsilon with the epsilon together. So these two, you can read them like with an F, so af or F, or with a V, like av or ev. It depends. It depends on what is following. I mean, if it's a vocal that's following, mainly it's an av or an ev. If it's not a vocal, it depends. So this one, and for example, students say, I'm sorry, how can I know how I will pronounce it? Okay, it's experience. Basically, it's experience and vocabulary. And except this, because, okay, we're done with the vocals, but the alphabet does not have only vocals. I need you to take a look at the left side. And now it's like when English, let's say, meet Greek. So here, for example, if you pay attention, the first two letters are the me, the M, and the P in Greek. So this one has the sound of B in English. These two letters are for the B. So if I can read the exams next, it's basket or umbrella. It's the B. This is the B and not the Vita. The next one is the ni and the T, the ni and the taf in Greek. This one has the sound of D. So it's disco or Andreas and not the delta, but these two have the sound of D. We also have the gamma gamma, so double gamma or gamma kappa. These have the sound of G, so gu. This is the gu and not the gamma. So garage or kaguro or fegari. The next one is the chu. We have seen that in the States. The chu is like double zeta, for example, pizza. These two together. And the ju. This is like the J in English. That's why it has also the example of Jane. So as you can see, except from the alphabet, we also have all these letters and the combinations of letters that we need to use and to read. And that's why I wanted to show you these to have a full idea of what is happening with the alphabet and the words and the letters in Greek. And the last thing that has to do with writing and reading Greek is otonos. So basically, otonos is the stress, but also tonos in Greek is tuna. That's why it's in the picture here of this feast, because it's also the tuna in Greek. But tonos is this line that goes above the vocals, the one vocal or the combinations of them. And in Greek, we have that in every word and help us to emphasize while reading or understand the word. For example, if I go on the title and I want to read that to you, I'm going to read that as otonos. If the stress was in the second O and not in the first, I would have read that as otonos, not tonos, but tonos. So it's in order how and where to emphasize in a word. It helps us understand. So tonos goes in every word. We have only two rules. We use tonos everywhere aside to one-syllable words like ne, which is yes in Greek. So one-syllable words do not get the stress, or words that are all written in capital letters. Like here I have written the example of the word pame. Pame means come, let's go. Pame, if I write that in not capital words, it gets the stress. But here the exam has all capitals, no stress. So a good trick to remember is I use everywhere the stress, I emphasize on the stress, I don't use the stress in one-syllable words, in capital words. So basically, I hope you're not tired yet, but you're muted. So I hope someone is going to write that and I'm going to say that. And I'm going to proceed to the next one. So these are the things that I wanted to say to you about the language. And I'm going to continue here. So I have met a lot of people, I don't know if you agree with me, that keep telling me I have heard this word in Greek, I don't know what does it mean, and I have, let's say, asked someone or shared in Google Translate or whatever, and doesn't have a word to translate it. It's either a lot of words or maybe sentences, or I don't understand. Yes, these things happening in Greek. That's why the title of this slide is only Greek words. Here, for example, I have gathered the most common words that are the word, for example, philoxenia. I don't know if you have heard some of them. For example, the word philoxenia means to show love and hospitality to people that we don't know. This is philoxenia. And I suppose that here in Greece, we're like famous for that, but we treat nice to people that they come to, let's say, our country or in our houses. The next one is philotimo. So philotimo is a word for me, even for me, hard to describe, because philotimo, for example, is like when I say he is a good guy, he has philotimo, because we say he has philotimo in Greek. This one is to describe someone that has honor, has integrity, has pride. So he's a nice person, you know, inside out. This is philotimo. And also, like, a thing that I wanted to mention here, like, I don't know if that helps you, is these two letters come from ancient Greek, these two, words come from ancient Greek words. And philo, as you can see, both of them start with philo. In ancient Greek means I love, I like. So philo and xenia means that I like, I love xenos. Xenos is the stranger. And philo and timi means someone that likes, loves. Timi is honor. So, and philoxenia, the Zeus, so let's say the father of all the gods, he was the god of hospitality, the god of philoxenia in ancient Greek. Okay, I'm going to the third there. The word meraki. A lot of restaurants, bars, I don't know, shops, touristic shops have this name in Greece here. Meraki means when you do something with love. For example, I'm an artist and I have, let's say, painted a very good painting. And I said, I did that with meraki. That means I did that with my love and joy. I enjoyed all the procedure. This is meraki, the love of doing something. The next one is kefi. You might have heard that. Kefi is the joy that we have. For example, I'm going out to have some kefi. That means to have fun, to enjoy. Kefi is to have fun. The next one is palikari. So palikari has two uses. The normal one, which is a young man, is palikari. And also it's metaphorically someone that is a good person, also inside out, has also honor, integrity, pride, but is also courageous, he's kind, he's a beautiful person inside out, and it can be used metaphorically both for males and females in Greek. She has coped well enough with all these problems in her life. She's a palikari, we can say in Greek, for example. The next one is the word parea, that we use a lot. Parea is to describe group of friends. Friends is phili in Greek, so we can say I'm going out with my phili, friends, or I can say I'm going out with my parea, paream. It's the same in Greek. And the last one that I think that you all know it, I tend to believe, is the word opa. So opa has two meanings. The first meaning is, for example, in a celebration, what we dance, from Zorbas, even the movie, we dance and when we sing and we say opa, okay. But it's also to pay attention. For example, in Greek, when you're a co-driver to someone that's driving, and for example, an animal like jumps in front of the car, okay, you can say to him like, opa, like pay attention, there is an animal in front of you. So opa is also to pay attention in Greek, and not only when we dance or sing or whatever. So let me check. Ωραία. I'm now taking your chat. That's why I stopped in order to see if you have any questions. Aurea, and then I'm going to continue. So here, so this is the grandfather of the movie. I don't know if you have seen that. Is the Greek wedding. Let's say I'm a big fat Greek wedding, and he says that give me a word and I'll show you how the root is Greek. Okay, I like this movie, and he has a point, but not every word. Okay, let's be honest. So here, the thing that I did is that I gathered some in order to tell you that, yeah, it's well known that more than 6,000 words that people use every day come from Greek. And why they come from Greek? Because in ancient Greece, you know, is where they invented science, mathematics, let's say, theater, philosophy, all of these, let's say, things. So these words pass from ancient Greece to Latin, and from Latin, let's say, to Europe. So that's why words that have to do with science, with medical, with theater, even with cinema, or photography, with arts in general, come from Greek words. And here in this board, let's say, I don't know if you can say that, I will underline some. For example, the word, sorry, this is not an underlining. This is, I hope I'll do that. So the first one is academy, is academia in Greek. Another one, the third line is character. Character is charakteras in Greek. Another one that I can easily see is ecology. Ecology is ekologia in Greek. Another one is idea. Idea is idea in Greek. Or ocean. Ocean is okeanos in Greek. Or phase. Phase είναι η φάση in Greek. Or symbol, το σύμβολο. Or therapy, η θεραπεία. Or type, ο τύπος. So I can basically read all of them and tell you the Greek word, but okay, the point here is that, yeah, a lot of words come from Greek. Not every word, like grandfather said, but a lot of words come from Greece and from Greek, basically, and that we use every day. And I'm moving, I try to be fast. I do my best to that. I'm sorry. Λοιπόν, here. Λοιπόν means so. So maybe I'm talking also in Greek. I don't understand that. So here in this slide, I have gathered, let's say, Greek words that they pronounce the same, but they have different meaning. We have that in Greek. That's why the tonos help us, or the different E's and the S and the O's help us. So here are some examples of words that we pronounce the same way, but they're totally different words. For example, the first one, I'm going to start from the left side, is the word klima. It's written with eta and with iota, different E's. The first one means, let's say, the grape tree, where the grapes are, and the second is the climate. In the other picture is the word kritiki. The first one is written with iota and the other one is written with eta. Both of them, they are the same. Kritiki, kritiki, and also the stress in the same place. The first one is criticism, like criticism, and the second one comes from Crete, the island. It's like the Cretan cuisine, η κρητική κουζίνα. Another one is this one, is lira. Lira with ypsilon is this instrument, the traditional musical instrument. Lira with iota is the coins, basically the pounds in Greek. The next one is mila. The first one with theta and the other one with iota is the apple, or the word for speak. You speak, it's a verb. And the next one is homos. Homos means bad. And the next homos, the second homos, that is the two O's reversed, is the soldier. And it doesn't stop here. These are only some. I have also these, and there are a lot more. But to have an idea, the other one is pali, from the left side again. Pali with eta, pali with iota. Is the wrestling, is the word for again. The word rima. Rima is the word for the verb. or rima with iota is the rhyme. Or tichi. Tichi is luck, and tichi is also the walls in a castle, for example. Phyto or phyto, which is the first one is the word for I study in the university, and the second word is the word for the plant. Philao, the number 12, or philao, different is, and it's I guard, I kiss. Or 14, hilia, which is the lips with epsilon iota, or hilia with iota, which is the number 4000. Or philo and philo, double L, one L, is the leaf, is the sex. And here in the middle is the word for siko. Siko is the verb, stand up, and siko is also this fruit that we have a lot in Greece, and I really like it, basically. So as you can see, all of them have the same sound, but they have different meanings. One thing that I keep, that a lot of people tell me that, okay, it's difficult, Greek are difficult because of these things. Yeah, we have these things. It's not so difficult though, but we have them. And also now it's the opposite, the quite opposite. For example, same word, but in different context. For example, here I have 3 examples, let's say. The first one is the word echo. Echo means I have. The first one says echo tria παιδιά, that means I have 3 children. The second one is the same verb, and it's έχει πολύ ζέστη σήμερα. That means it is too hot today. So the first one is I have, and the second one is it is. It's the same verb though. The other one is the verb πάω. Πάω means I go. So then πάμε καθόλου καλά. Like it means, for example, the road, I'm lost and I need directions because, and I say we're not going the right way. That's what it means. But metaphorically, it means, are we crazy? Something is going on here. It's not right. The other one is the word klino. The word klino means to close here in the past tense. That means έκλεισα την πόρτα. It means I closed the door. And again, the same verb, the same tense. It's έκλεισα τραπέζι. That means I booked a table, booked and not close. And the last one is the word μένω. The word μένω means I live. Μένω στην Αθήνα means I live in Athens. Or έμεινα στο μάθημα. That means I have exams in my university and I fail. I didn't pass my exam in the university. So as you can see, yeah, we have words that are the same, but the translation and the meaning depends on the context. And let me see. So here, this is a small part of this presentation that has to do with the history. I'm not gonna tell you a lot of stuff that, okay, I just want to stick to the important things. That's why I have used the bullets. So because we're talking about the Greek language, I need to tell you about the history behind that. So basically, the Greek language began in the classical era with the alphabet. The alphabet is an alphabet that we took, let's say, from the Phoenician alphabet, that it didn't have any vocals. So because that we are selling to, let's say, to exchange products, we took the alphabet, we placed, let's say, the Greeks back then, they placed vocals inside it and do some changes, and then it's how they came up with the Greek alphabet. So this is how it started. And the first, let's say, writing that we managed to decrypt was the linear B that they find in archaeological place in the Peloponnese, in Mykonos. And basically it has a lot of symbols, and it was really, really a very important, let's say, thing that they managed to decrypt in 1953. So basically, we took the alphabet, and during the archaic and classical areas in Greece, because Greece was not a country back then, it was people that were living in different, let's say, parts of Greece. We used to use the Aeolian, the Ionian, and the Doric dialects. So basically the alphabet might be the same, but the dialects were different. So these dialects became the base of the Greek, let's say, language. And then I'm going to move on to the next one really fast. So, I'm sorry, this one. So then the first, let's say, dialect that you might know, because the philosophers, the Socrates, Pericles, Sophocles, Euripides. So the most important, let's say, figures of ancient Greece they were used to write in the Attic dialect. Στην Αττική dialecto. So the Attic dialect was a subdialect of the Ionian. I told you before, we had three. So the one that managed to be, let's say, the basis was the Ionian one, in which the Attic dialect, let's say, was the main language that people used to speak in ancient Greece until Alexander the Great. So in the period that Alexander the Great lived, let's say, then we used, they had the New Hellenistic Common, Nea Hellenistiki Kini. This was the language that people used to speak to for 300 years, and after the death of Alexander the Great. So again, the basis was the Attic dialect, and with some additions, this language evolved and became the New Hellenistic Common. And then it goes up to the medieval Greek, or the Byzantine, I don't know, I'm sorry by my pronunciation, you know, my English, I'm sorry for that. So it was the language that people use until the destruction, let's say, of the fall of Constantinople in 1453. And then we come to, let's say, close that after the founding of Greek state in 1829, we had Katharevousa, and from 1976 we have Δημοτική. So Δημοτική is the official, let's say, form of Greek that we speak now in Greece and in Cyprus too. What is Katharevousa and what is Δημοτική? Basically, both of them, they are the same. Δημοτική is, let's say, a simplest form of Katharevousa, because Katharevousa had maintained a lot of, let's say, endings or stresses from ancient Greek. So basically, the point here is that the language is the same, because every time the base is the same, the things that are changing are some additions or, let's say, endings or changes that we have to make it more simple. That's the thing that I want for you, if you need to keep, let's say, something in your mind, this is the main point of that. And the next one, I'm gonna change that. Here are some basic expressions that I've gathered for you. Here is also from the movie that was this teacher that used to say something about a goat in the school. And okay, the children understood that, but they didn't have goats. So which was the point of telling this sentence? Okay, it's this sentence. So for me, teaching languages has to do with, you know, our everyday routine and the basic expressions that we have to use. So here I have gathered some important, I think. For example, I'm gonna go fast, but the main things that someone needs to know in every language, not in Greek only, is how are you? Sorry, what's your name? In Greek, we have two ways. It's πώς σε λένε, informal, singular, or πώς λέγεστε. It's the same, but formal or plural. We separate that. And με λένε Maria, or με λένε Pano, if I'm a guy. Or another option, εγώ είμαι η Maria. The E is an article. We have also articles in Greek, everywhere articles in Greek. Or είμαι ο Panos, it changes to O because it's a masculine. Another question is από πού είσαι, singular, informal. The same question, από πού είστε, formal and plural. That means where are you from? Είμαι από τον Καναδά. I'm from Canada. Or από την Αμερική. Again, can you see the articles? Now the articles from O and T that they were before, now it's ton and tin. Or που μένεις, που μένετε. Που μένεις or που μένετε is where do you live? I live in Athens. I live in London. I live in Panama. Μένω στο Λονδίνο, στην Αθήνα, στον Παναμά. So these are basic expressions like here on the board, like hello, γεια σου, καλημέρα, καλησπέρα, which is good afternoon, καληνύχτα, that is good evening and good night, addio, which is goodbye or see you, τα λέμε, that is see you, and it's only informal in Greek. We don't say formally τα λέμε, for example. Με συγχωρείτε, which is excuse me. Τι κάνετε, how are you formally, ενώ τι κάνεις. Λυπάμαι, which is sorry. Συγγνώμη, excuse me. Ευχαριστώ, thank you, ευχαριστώ πολύ. Or παρακαλώ, please. So, πώς είπες? Πώς είπες is excuse me, or what do you say? It's informal. We don't use it formally, for example. Χάρηκα is a word for nice to meet you, pleased to meet you. So, for me, these are basic expressions that someone needs to know if it's learning Greek or basically any language, but now we're talking about Greek. So these, and I have some other here, but I'm gonna say that fast enough because I know we don't have a lot of time. So πού θα συναντηθούμε is where are we meeting, for example. You're in Greece and you need to go to see a friend. Why you cannot say that in Greek? You can try. Πού θα συναντηθούμε? This is a very, let's say, useful expression. Τι προτιμάς? What do you prefer? Τι νέα, for example, here. What's new? Πώς πάει? How it's going? This is informal way to ask, how are you? Okay. So basically, these are, let's say, common expressions that you can use in Greek, and that's something that I used to do with my students. And that comes to here, which is, let's say, my last slide, which is a Greek language. Is it an easy or hard? I think you can tell me more about that. But for me, if you can ask me my, let's say, opinion to that, is, yeah, basically it's difficult to learn Greek for someone that doesn't have any experience in other alphabets except the Latin one, but it's not something that someone cannot do. For me, it's difficult, for example, to learn Chinese, but if I want to do that, I'll do that. So yeah, Greek, it's a not say a very, very easy language to learn because it has the stresses, all these vocals, all these letters, okay, the syntax, the grammar, but it's something that someone like Eftychia did. Eftychia can tell us more, I believe, about that. It's someone that if someone needs and wants to learn a language, can do that. Yeah, it takes a little bit more patience because you cannot be able to speak so fast and fluently right from the beginning. You can speak, okay, but not fluently because you need to think in Greek and place the words in the right order. But you can do that with like exercising. So here for examples, like some tips that I have written, like to learn vocabulary in Greek, that we have a lot. Some small tips that will help, for example, visualize the word. You can use flashcards to learn words. I did that. It helped me in English or in German. Learn it in context. Learn it in phrases. Like I saw you before. Create a story. I used to do that when I was learning English, for example, the phrasal verbs. When I had troubles learning phrasal verbs, I used to remember, this might come from the word fall that along with that might have. I created like small, let's say, stories in my mind to remember them. Sing in Greek. YouTube is our friend. We have a lot of great musicians with the lyrics that you can like read and learn them and listen at home if you have a relative. Okay, or not at home or the phone. If you don't have any relative, podcasts. There are a lot of podcasts that you can use in order to listen to Greek and remember them. So basically, my point here was to tell you that it's not an easy language, but what is an easy language? It depends on how someone needs to learn, how much needs to learn. And the last one is that I have to say that because I'm very proud of working here. So like Eftychia told you, I'm here instead of Miss Andreas, and I'm really happy to represent, let's say, our school, Alexandria Institute. So I wanted to tell you some things about that. I don't know if you have any idea about it. So here I have created a collage. Like, I think Eftychia, you are here too in this picture, in the first one. I suppose that you are here. Yeah, I think you're here. So basically, these are pictures from our summer courses. I'm sorry, Eftychia.
I was going to say, I'm in the one in the top looking at those two things.
Yeah.
Written on them.
Yeah. You're in the one
That's
in the
in
top.
Hios. That was in Hios back in September.
Yeah, in Hios. So our school it's in Greece, okay, with it's here in Greece, Greek. So we have a lot of summer courses that we're very proud of, and these pictures come from these summer courses, like Eftychia said. We organize summer courses in the Greek islands or in general in Greece, while people are there on vacation need to learn Greek or exercise, for example, like in Chios, in Paros, in Methoni. So our main point, our goal and philosophy as a school is like teaching and education in general needs to be interactive, needs to be experiential. So our method focuses on that. We like having trips, outdoor lessons, different places, communicate with each other, communicate with locals, show people our culture. So the things that we are very, very proud is, first of all, our summer courses that we used to do that in these places, and we're very happy for that. And also our online courses that we have also private or groups. And also we keep the same logic, the same method, communication between students, interaction, and also introducing them to the Greek culture is our baseline. And like I said in the beginning, I don't know if I mentioned that, really, and I believe that teaching a language is much more. And that's why I'm very, very happy working here and teaching Greek here, because it's more than that. Either in summer courses or in online courses, it's much more. So that's all from me. These are the things that I wanted to mention. I don't know if you have any questions. So Eftychia, I'm gonna stop share.
Okay.
And it's up to you now.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, Maria. We're so happy that you were here and you could tell us a little bit about our language. I know a lot of us that were not raised by Greek Americans or Greek parents didn't have the opportunity to be exposed to our language, and that has made it. I feel like it's part of being Greek is knowing something about the language that we missed out on growing up as kids. Unfortunately, as we get older, it's harder and harder for us to learn a language. So if I was 20, I'd be fluent already, but unfortunately, I'm not. I did want to say thank you so much. Loved your presentation. Thanks for talking about the peculiarities of Greek. I will say that learning Greek is not easy. Είναι πολύ δύσκολα means it's very hard. But προσπαθώ να μάθω ακόμα. I'm still trying to learn. So the funny thing, I did want to tell one quick funny thing that happened. She mentioned the word Ella, which means come. People will say this all the time to their kids, like Ella, Ella do, Ella do, Ella do. Come here, come here. And when we arrived in Athens one time, my husband, my son and I excused myself and went to the ladies' room, and I came back, and my son says to me, he says, "Wow, Mom, man, a lot of people in Greece named their kid Ella." And I'm like, "What do you mean they named their kid Ella?" And he said, "Because everybody I heard said Ella, Ella, Ella." And I said, Justin, they're saying come here. They were telling their kids to come here. So he was thinking everybody was named Ella. So
we use it a lot.
Yes, a lot. So does anybody have questions for Maria? Anybody have a question?
No, I don't know.
Anybody has any questions?
Either I'm really bad or if I'm really good, I don't know.
Well, or it may just be that we're,
or you're bored.
We're unfamiliar enough with Greek that they're not sure what question to ask. Maybe that's part of it. But we hope you enjoyed. It's hard to know what question to ask. I
was just going to make a comment since I didn't.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to kind of give my experience. I had never heard modern Greek before I was a teenager. And then after that, I only knew church Greek because I started going to a Greek Orthodox church as a teen. And it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I started learning modern Greek, or even being able to read Greek really very well. And I did at seminary 3 years of modern Greek, but also biblical, and we did some stuff on Byzantine. But I've definitely forgotten a lot since seminary. It's been 10 years. Wow, 10 years since I started. Anyway, but I've retained a lot of it. So I just wanted to say to everybody, like, definitely, it's not impossible to learn. It's a hard language, but it's not the hardest. And I think if you're connected to the culture, as Maria kept saying, if you're connected to the culture, if you're listening to the music, you're gonna feel the pathos. You're gonna feel like the feeling of like the language. And if you're listening to Greek music, if you're learning how to Greek dance, and you get caffeine, like it's gonna be part of you, and you're gonna find yourself talking with your hands. You're gonna find yourself, so I just wanted to say it's not impossible. It's definitely a doable thing, and it's a lovely language, and you don't have to have Greek blood to learn Greek, but when you're around it, it definitely absorbs. So I just want to give my 2 cents.
Great. Yeah. I agree, especially about the music.
I totally agree.
The music is like so important because I'm musical, so I love music. I have learned the words to a lot of Greek songs. I like Greek pop. I do like the traditional too, but I like that for dancing, but I love Greek pop. I'm in love with Petros Yakovlidis. I love him. He's not only does he have great music, but he's really nice to look at too. So I kind of like that. But it's a great way to listen. And on Apple Music, if any of you have that, you can download these Greek people on Apple Music. So just look them up. And then I discovered the other day that function where it has the lyrics, the full lyrics. Some of them run like karaoke. There's some of them that will run automatically as the song goes on. So if you are learning Greek, it's a great way to start learning words, to learn. And eventually, once you learn the words, you're going to learn what the songs mean. So it's really a great experience. So, so Maria, thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate so much you being here with us and talking about our language. Because
thank you so much too. It's my honor, Eftychia. Thank you so much. Really, thank you so much, and thank everyone and each of you for your time and attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria. We appreciate it a lot. We're kind of running just a tad behind, so we're going to go on and talk about our next speaker. I see her gridded down there in her little picture. I'm gonna add the spotlight. Let me spotlight her. There we go. Let me spotlight myself. All right, there's Elena. Let's see. There you go. Hi, Elena.
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
It's good
greetings
to see.
Greetings from Greece that is burning from top to toe now.
That's really sad. It's good to see you again. I was more fun to see you in person in Thessaloniki this past time I was there, the trip before last, but hopefully we'll get to see each other again in person soon. Elena, I met her basically through Nick Zales, who's on here today. And so then I ended up getting in touch with her just on Facebook and then over the phone. And then we met in Thessaloniki and we went to some really cool little place and we had a ouzo and we sat around and talked and we ate, and it was just like we just clicked and became friends. So every time I go to Thessaloniki, I try to meet up with Elena. But in addition to that, she's a really brilliant person who's a very smart, very intelligent, very savvy woman. And she has done some research that I know you guys are all going to find interesting. And so I'm going to let Elena take it and tell us all about her research and all of the stuff that she's done with her research with Agios Stylianos and the adoptions in Thessaloniki. So Elena, it's take it away.
I will just share my screen, but I'll switch off my video so it will run faster. Give me 30 seconds to share.
Okay.
I hope you will find it very didactic, and maybe after all these history lessons and all this useful today's seminar, probably you will learn something from me as well.
I know we will.
Okay. 30 seconds. Not very good at it. Wow. Okay, thank you all guys. I hope you will find it enjoyable. I'll try to be faster than I suppose. Just tell me that you were watching it. No, not yet. Is it okay now? Oh, I can find it.
Yeah, we're not seeing anything yet.
Yeah, give me 30 seconds.
Okay.
I hope it doesn't take too much. Okay, here it is. Okay. So, I will try to be fast for you. I will tell you a story that is true and full of pictures. To start with a short history presentation of Thessaloniki, the second largest city of Thessaloniki of Greece, which is the so-called bride of Thermaikos port. It's one of the major ports in Greece. I will tell you about the chronicle and development of the foundation of the nursery until today, and the footage of the trial that led the responsible for the illegal adoptions to court. This paper was my thesis for my MA, as you have already read it, and I will try to be brief. And please feel free to ask any questions at the end. Thessaloniki is located north of Greece, among the oldest cities of Mediterranean. It's one with a history for more than 2,300 years. It is sure one of a multicultural environment for ages. It was established by Kassandros, a companion of Alexander the Great, around 250 BC. A lot of tribes and people dwelt there for many years and centuries, and everybody left its mark. Some of them are the well-known Sephardic Jews when they were expelled from Spain, Armenians, Catholic, Bulgarians, Turks, tribes, etc. From the very beginning, due to its unique position, it is multicultural, multicolored, and multiracial patchwork that didn't lose its character not until today. The city went through two Balkan wars, two world wars, with an eastern regime settling at the outskirts of the city, known as the gardeners of the city, a national split, a devastating fire in 1917, and a bloody civil war. It was a place of relocation for thousands, hundreds of refugees as the outcome of Lausanne Treaty and the uprooted Asia Minor Greek adoptees. Its population exploded vastly from some thousands at the beginning of the 20th century to 200,000, with significant democratic changes. While before the liberation, The Jewish and Turkish communities, then known millets, according to the Ottoman administrative system, were the major ones. The Greek Armenians and others were only minorities before the annexation of the Greek state. After the annexation, the Turkish almost vanished, the Jews were diminished and became only a minority, with a limitation to resident rights to follow. Every community has its own hospitals, retirement homes, almshouses, workhouses, and of course nurseries, partly for the needy ones. They were classified with professional guilds distinguished from other communities, but with extreme and significant tolerance until today, as it comes to religious, ethnic, and linguistic groups.
Elena, can I ask you something quickly?
Yeah, please.
Is the screen supposed to be changing or not yet?
Give me 30 seconds.
Okay, I wasn't sure. It wasn't changing, so I didn't know if it was supposed to or not.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, in the beginning of the 20th century, the Orthodox community was running the Harissa retirement, the Agios Stylianos nursery, and other beneficiary institutions. The Jewish community also has its numerous welfare foundations until the Second World War. And there was also a Russian and an Italian hospital. And of course, the Turkish community ran its numerous foundations around the mosques of the city. The nickname of Thessaloniki, now it comes after the Greek lesson, is Stochomana, the mother of the poor, because too many needy people were benefited on its grounds due to the Millet administrative systems. And many charitable foundations were instituted for the lack of state, that it was a model for many foreign reporters and sightseers, just like Ernest Hemingway when he was reporting from Thessaloniki and Constantinople. Let's come to the history of the nursery. There are still vague information about the early beginnings and the foundings of the nursery, Agios Stylianos. It was the first nursery in Thessaloniki from the Orthodox community. We know for sure that it was established around 1840 from 16 golden coin entailment deposit in Tsarist by the wealthy expatriate Antonios Ninis, an offspring of Thessaloniki's well-known family. Ninis lived and flourished in Venice, gathered his immense fortune there out of trade, but remained childless and unmarried. He stated the entitlement for the foundation of a nursery in his hometown Thessaloniki, having Venice nurseries as models. For a long time, it was the sole nursery in the whole territory for North Greece alone. We can distinguish three periods for the nursery, but I will run through them. The first is from its establishment, 1840 to 1912, when it was administered by the Greek Orthodox community alone. The second period was from 1912 to 1938, when it was annexed next to the existing hospital Theagenio, which was also made from donations of the Theagenis distinguished personnel of Thessaloniki. From May 1913, it was named Agios Stylianos Nursery and constituted as private law body corporate. Maybe Nick will advise us more about that. And from 1938 up to date, it has been transformed from private law body corporate to civil law body corporate. And it laid on Thessaloniki's major, the authority, the basic authority, and the highest authority. The Brotherhood of a Board and Committee was responsible for the administration of the institution, and the first charter was approved in August 1938. The transformation altered the character of the nursery from charitable foundation to a structured welfare institution for the local government. During the Second World War, the building was requisitioned by the German occupiers, and the babies were dwelt in the basements. Later, they were transferred to other ready facilities. From 1920 to 1942, we have an increase in adoptions as a means of decompressing the nursery and as a form of solidarity and care after the war. During and after the Greek Civil War, an explosion of new arrivals further toughened the situation. The introduction of powder milk as part of the humanitarian aid Greece accepted from the USA radically lowered the child death rates, which I forgot to mention. Before the import of the powder milk, it was almost 80%. It was huge. It was a time when the phenomenon of two babies sharing one bed was a common phenomenon. From 1947, the foster care solution as the first stage before adoption was propounded. From around that period, shadows over the administration of the foundation appeared as children's statuses often changed from offsprings of known parents to orphan with unknown parents. As the proprietors of the trial mentioned below, later states, all the above were done in an effort to decompress the foundation, thus to offer better living conditions to the remaining inmate babies and a better future to the adopted lucky ones. The scandal we're about to deal with broke out in 1962 and completed in the courtrooms in 1965. The well-structured circuit was operated for the fast bargain and exchange of the babies. Many babies left for the USA, Europe, and elsewhere, often with ambiguous bureaucracy and often with appropriate payments included. Children crossed the Atlantic and were settled to inappropriate family environments, often without any basic check. Trials took place both sides of the Atlantic, and some of them are still running for their legitimacy. The legal framework for adoption started changing from 1917 onwards and is still improving. While the number of the new coming babies to the nursery has been diminished since 1974. From 1981, the kindergarten is located along with the nursery and its current facilities, leaving only a small building for the nursery. The most significant current benchmark is the return of many adopted child to the institution, searching for the roots, origins, relatives, etc. The chronicle of the trial. Without the current utilities, email, fax, internet, and stuff like that, the inquisitor that was appointed with the file of the illegal adoptions worked fast, efficiently, and conscientiously. From 11th December 1962, he interrogated more than 190 people. Many times, didn't hurry to press charges, I would say. He was rather meticulous and frugal. He blamed no one unjustified, and he cross-checked all evidence and recommendations with local police authorities, sending on average 50 letters per day, some days. He searched and thoroughly compared registry archives with these of the local hospitals. He was attentive to every witness, especially the ones that testified ex officio. He interrogated all nursery workers, doctors, and civilians that seemed somehow implicated in the scandal. At the same time, the administrative committee of the nursery appointed a member of the committee, Mrs. Daraviga, to make inquiries and fill a report about the incident. She submitted her report to the major on the early January 1963. The major, as the appointed authority of the nursery, also completed the second series of inquiries and filled his report on the 27th of December 1963. Both reports were also submitted to the DA. After the completion of the above-mentioned procedure, the interrogator proposed to press charges to 11 people for a series of illegal actions. The DA fully agreed with him. With the indictment, the trial inaugurated in June 1964. You see, it's 1.5 years after the beginning of after the outbreak of the scandal. After the first decision 2561 of the 12th June 1964, the accused submitted an appeal immediately. For two of them, the DA also submitted an appeal justifying that the final decision was very mild. The Court of Appeal took place on the 5th and 6th February of 1965 again, where most of the charges were withdrawn due to the new current recommendations of laws 4367 of 1964 for penalties less than a year. The only remaining accused was the director of the nursery, whose penalty finalized after the appeal in 4 years of imprisonment. He had the right to computation, so he appealed to the highest court. There his appeal was finally and definitely declined, and the decision 107/1965 became irrefutable. How it all started. Most of the workers in the dormitories knew that something strange was going on, and the few times they dared to ask, they got bullied by the director. The irregularities of the procedures were a common topic among them. When they overcame the fear of getting fired and reported the bargain of certain babies, the mechanism of illegal baby transactions finally came to life. Initially, in summer 1962, some daycare workers reported irregularities to Major Papailiakis, who was also a professional lawyer himself. He advised them to be on alert for the next baby that was going to disappear because he knew that the responsible ones should be caught red-handed. In the beginning of December 1962, the major received the workers' call. He immediately cooperated with the local police authorities and the DA, and after extensive research, the lost or given baby was found in a private clinic as a newborn child of an infertile mother. During the interrogations, many workers declared that a number of incoming babies remained unregistered with the intention of being sold, and others, quite healthy, suddenly declared dead. Similar horrible stories unveiled during the judicial procedures, but only very few of them would undoubtedly come to trial. During the procedures, it appeared as the whole city knew that something was going on. No one spoke on behalf of those poor babies. The role of the press. These are some of the first and the last papers of the decisions. Many reporters from local newspapers covered the chronicles of the trials and spent hours in the courts writing detailed reports. During the days of the trials, there were articles even on the front pages of the newspapers Macedonia and Hellenic North, They were the most sold out Thessaloniki newspapers. They published photos of the major defendants, parts of the dialogues and the cross-examinations of the DA, as well as parts of the testimonies of the witnesses and the implicated ones. The public articles started even before the beginning of the trial, with certain inaccuracies, in an effort to sell more papers. During the trial, specific reporters covered every single day of the trial, and they also published the verdicts. Photos of babies that were sold to the USA were also printed on the cover pages in an attempt to raise awareness on the incident. In Macedonian newspaper dated December 6, 1962, the reporter mentioned that this sales channel was running for at least 7 years with participants in and out of the nursery. In Hellenic North, on the same date, the reporter stated that this gang was bargaining babies and that through mediators, many of them crossed the Atlantic. The following days, details about healthy unregistered babies who suddenly vanished for tampered registry entries, the cooperation with midwives, private obstetricians, and private clinics for phenomena of women born dead babies, finally discharged from clinics with healthy babies on hand, etc., etc. The director of the nursery was immediately put into custody, and out of various cases of illegal transactions, only 7 could be attested and corroborated with tangible evidence. The rest of the cases were on the edge of statute of limitations, or adequate evidence couldn't be found. During the first verdict, only 3 out of the defendants were pressed with charges. The other 8 were freed from the charges, and after the appeal, only 1, the director of the nursery, was sentenced to 4 years imprisonment and 2 years confinement of his civil rights. The public sentiment remained unfulfilled, as the penalty was small and insignificant given the terrible crimes, and the common feeling that justice hadn't been adequately served remained as a shadow over the city, who by the time knew illegal transnational adoption. Yet other decisive incidents, like the murder of the politician Gregory Labrakis, turned the lights of the press from the nursery. Let's speak about the findings. Here there are some major pages of the newspapers of that time. Some of you may find your picture as well. The nursery is a specific structured place, historically, culturally, and socially defined as a receiver and administrator of selective attitudes parents towards their children. It is a laboratory of the construction and reformation of the missing kinship. For the inmates of the nursery, the 2 aspects of kinship, the biological and social, separated and disconnected with each other. The selective kinship is defined from the parting from the natural parents to the selective integration in cases of successful adoption procedures only. None of the impeachers got fired. Since the daycare workers set the milestone of the unraveling of the scandals, the testimonies that stated legalities for more than 10 years, they were afraid of their working status. Many were bullied, but all of them, after the end of the procedures of the trials, were restituted to their current or better positions. We have some cases of daycare workers that became the supervisors in the position of the supervisors that were to blame. The best employee For many consecutive years, the director was awarded with excellent evaluations, therefore claimed to be an irreplaceable employee. What led him to illegal actions and transactions? Why the interrogator didn't search for older adoptions but spare most of them? A probable argument would be that of the fear of statute of limitations. Going further back would require effort and probably would fall on significant members involved in the illegal international and transatlantic circuit. A single day, 6 adoption trials took place in Thessaloniki State Court, for adoptees sent to the USA. The rhetorics of power. The basic defendant, the director, used specific rhetoric during his testimony to try to appeal to common sentiment by claiming that his supervisor had full knowledge of his actions and that he was pressed by powerful politicians for numerous of his actions. The leverage of registration entries and the selection of babies to be adopted were inadequately justified by him nor by his collaborators. Everything was done for making couples happy. Even though there was a specific network of code names, places, timetables, and even orders to infertile women to pretend they were pregnant, as well as pre-orders for a baby girl for Christmas, etc., a baby boy with blue eyes, and stuff like that, all major defendants testified that they were serving a higher purpose of making childless couples happy and escape divorces. What they missed was the financial part of the network and the morality of the order of a baby as a commodity in an institution that was supposed to be inaccessible to people. They were misdirected. A couple and a widow admitted having taken babies from the obstetrician, claiming that they didn't know that this procedure was not a legal one. After the minutes of the trial, they came to the conclusion they didn't have the requirements set by the law, and they wanted their child free from the adopted stigma. For these reasons, they submitted tampered registered entries to their local registries without hesitation. Another decisive factor is that they preferred children of unknown parents to eliminate the case of giving the child back as a returning commodity again. Everybody abandoned me. It was a major argument of the director, who stated that handwritten notes of politicians, police authorities, and powerful people asked for favors and exemplar adoptions. These favors were to the administrative board's knowledge. Whatsoever, the nursery received babies registered as of unknown parents from the Municipal Hospital of Thessaloniki. A fallacy indeed, since at least a mother was given birth to the hospital. These cases of offspring of notable families of the city gave birth to illegitimate children that had to be vanished to keep the good name of the family. All of these people refused to testify for the director. Why do you want your children back? You can't even feed them. The director acted selectively, especially in cases of healthy babies coming from poor, illiterate families. He misbehaved toward the legitimate parents, asking them to sign declarations of children abandonment. Wait 1 minute. Okay. The blatant answer to the poor decent farmer who asked for his baby girl was that she was in good hands, growing up in wealth, having 2 nannies. The poor mother of 2 who left 2 of her children to the nursery was falsely misinformed that one of her boys died. She later revealed that her so-called dead son was alive and adopted by another family. As her stubborn answer to the merciful director mocked her,
I was before that, but
that she was unable to feed her
But
children.
did you hear what the other woman said? There was that woman that's deceased, 1996. She started the whole thing, and it was in People magazine, and there was a big thing about it, and that got it going and everything. And then the Greek government kind of dropped the ball. They wanted to forget about it and everything. But they
Gail,
want to
you're
keep
not muted
keep
and
it
she's
going.
still speaking. Could you mute your screen, please? Thank you.
Shall I continue? Okay. The morals of the immoral prostitute. I'm finishing in a little while.
That's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
When
Sorry.
a prostitute came to ask her baby back, already sold by the director with a fast-track procedure, the daycare workers had specific orders to present a baby with severe heart problems. Such was her anxiety to raise her child that she accepted their baby, even though from the testimonies of the workers, turned out that her perfectly healthy baby was for adoption. The defendant was confident and anticipated that the baby wasn't going to be claimed by his mother. The persistent granny. A grandmother brought her illegitimate twin grandsons to the nursery. One was very strong and the other was weaker. The director immediately arranged for the healthy to be given. When the granny returned to pick the boys back, she didn't believe that her stronger grandson died whilst the more vulnerable survived. The truth of the abduction of her missing grandson was revealed into the courthouse. Like potatoes in a grocery store, it was a phrase from the DA. There was an outraging exchange of an illegally adopted sick baby with another healthcare when the foster parent came in the nursery yelling about the retarded baby as a defective commodity giver. All workers testified for this exchange with frustration. During this case, a member of the court yelled out of range, "They were children, living creatures for God's sake, who can't change potatoes to the grocery market with such ease." This incident covered front pages of that day. As if they were animals. When the DA examined the doctor of the nursery, he asked various questions about the death certificates she signed. She pleaded that she had full confidence in the director, the good employee, so she signed the certificate without certain examinations. After the disclosure that the baby whom death certificate of bronchopneumonia she signed was alive and kicking, she asked the court to forgive her, as it was just a simple mistake. The DA blatantly confronted her that she wasn't meticulously doing her duty and that she acted as if she was treating animals rather than babies. A la carte children or with the indication new. When there was demand for children, the director indicated the new healthy entries as new, avoiding to register them in the with the civil codes until the new babies were given to the new parents. In certain times, there were 2 or 3 children with indications, new 1, new 2, and so on. There were testimonies of workers that the director asked what the color of the eyes of the new babies was because he had to know his bargaining commodity. A common practice. In cases of illiterate parents, there were cases of adopted children where the parents had signed on the registration book that they took the children back, while at the same time registries with unknown children entered the ledger and quickly given for adoption. With the same shabby pink-blue blanket and a taxi waiting outside. The first report of the workers to the major was about a black-dressed elder woman with a headscarf who suspiciously entered the nursery during nighttime always left the nursery with a baby covered in a shabby distinctive blanket of pink and blue and on a taxi waiting by the institution with the engine open. Later, it turned out that she was a notorious midwife, member of the network among the basic dependents. Even the porter knew. His testimony verified at least 6-7 cases of illegal transactions the last 7 years, all taking place during midnight with the same suspicious pattern, rapid entry and boarding on a waiting taxi. And finally, social class phenomenon. There was distinctive social differentiation between the deponents testified in favor of the defendants and the rest of the witnesses. The first were upper class citizens, held authoritarian positions, were dressed and behaved formally and spoke pompously. The poor parents that testified for the cases of the missing children were of lower class usually citizens, dressed quite informally and spoke simply, everyday Greek. When they testified, some even stated that due to the bad fiscal situation, they might have consented to the adoption as regards the well-being, the benefits, and welfare of their children. Yet, the director didn't follow suit, but preferred the easy and, of course, profitable way. Let's come to some conclusions. Okay, Thessaloniki's long history is interwoven with philanthropy and charity. Various institutions were servicing the community with remarkable results, some until today. Among the oldest and more traditional establishments of the city is the Nursery Agios Stylianos, shelter for unprotected and illegitimate babies and toddlers according to the will and testament of his donor, Antonis Nimis. The nursery, in its almost bicentennial operation, saved many children from certain death, especially due to malnutrition, poverty, and the acute famine that was ravaging the city. Of course, death rates were disappointing until the import of milk powder from the humanitarian aid after the Second World War and the Civil War. With its numerous legal adoptions, it gave hope to many babies and brought happiness to many families, local or not. The major black spot of the nursery was the outbreak of the scandal of illegal adoptions in the late 1962. These judicial procedures reached the highest court level, Agios Stylianos, and finally ended with a verdict of 4 years imprisonment of the director of the institution. Similar phenomena happened to other Greek nurseries and brought court-like files. The uniqueness of Thessaloniki's case was the marginal role of the nursery, which after the scandal became part of the heart of the city, where no one knew but all were gossiping about mishandlings in the institution. The legal path of the adoption was and still is very time-consuming, posing certain barriers to the couple that wished to adopt a child. In the nursery, the workers were frustrated with their wrongdoings and the illegal transactions that happened in front of their eyes. The supervisors took advantage of their fear of being fired and bullied them indiscreetly. After a specific report of shadowy loss of a baby with the usual suspected pattern, the thread of illegal adoption started unweaving. The internal depositions and reports added to the interrogator's office and formed an indictment against 9 accused: the director, the administrator, and the head nurse of the institution, an obstetrician and his nurse, a midwife, an infertile couple, and a widow. Only 3 of them were finally convicted for very few charges, and their penalties were considered mild. The other 6 accused were acquitted. After the appeal, 2 of them were acquitted due to the recent changes of the law for penalties less than a year, and the convicted was only sentenced to 4 years of imprisonment and confinement of the civil life to 2 years, as I have already mentioned. The basic question still remaining is why, after such meticulous work, the DA didn't press charges for more crimes older than 1960, since the workers testified that illegality were a common practice at least since 1954. Out of fear of time lapse and the statute of limitations, the fact that covered with a cloak of philanthropy, merciful and powerful states like the United States expressed their superiority towards long-suffering states like Greece by means of child adoption, the symbolic meaning of these charitable acts was a comparison to the Western developed and civilized, wealthy democratic states to the Iron Curtain. Worth mentioning was the rhetoric of the defense attorney, who argued that the foundlings had no family status, therefore nothing to offend. But what was happening in case of illegal children whose family status altered and tampered in favor of the transactions? Maybe more people should have been accused. For example, the pediatrician who verified the death of a perfectly healthy child, or the administrator of the municipality hospital who brought the children. Even the director of the municipal maternity hospital, who often sent babies registered as foundlings, violated the family law, but without any penalties. In such a case, the scandal would spread all over the city, as many daughters of wealthy families had their illegal babies born there and then given to the nursery. The blatant testimony of the director, who argued that all his beneficiaries had abandoned him, and the fact that he was doing all these malfeasance in order to avoid scandals and help families and the society grow, was his defensive position and line. The arrogant attitude towards his workers, the illegal transactions, the selection of whose child to sell, and the series of lies he shamelessly expressed to the poor parents that tend to pick their children, not a word. Remarkable was the attitude of some desperate parents that testified that they lost their children from the nursery, yet they never asked to alter the current status of their now adopted children in an effort to provide a better life and a peaceful environment, instead of putting them into a new change of home, status, etc. Their sole argument was the illegality of the procedures the defendant chose to follow. As for the implication of the foster parents, I believe that they knew the obstacles set by the adoption law, which was the limitation of age above 50 years old. Therefore, they knew that they were not using it the right way. Moreover, their need for foundling child led them to take advantage of them. Number registry files have a number of children in queue for export, etc. During my archival research, I faced the barriers of DPR and wasn't allowed to visit the archives of the nursery. Probably a luckier researcher will bring to light more helpful and valuable information, which will allow for adoptees to heal their past wounds. I hope you like it. These are some pages on the last page, the front pages of the local newspapers. And thank you for your attention. I hope you like it. Any questions?
Hang on. We're gonna, let me get us back to gallery view so we can do it that way because that's easier. Gallery. Perfect. Now, oh, I got to put my video back on. Sorry. There we go. All right. I actually have a question quickly, and then we'll take questions from whoever would like to ask. We had a little bit difficulty hearing you. I think the audio was a little bit hard, so there were sometimes I didn't quite understand things. But can you can you tell us about the lady who came in the taxi cab? You said she was a notorious midwife. So
yeah,
can you repeat that a little bit just for us?
Yeah, she was one of the accusants. Actually, it was a midwife. She has her own office downtown, and she was one of the three initial accused. Initially, she was penalized with less than a year, with 9 months, if I'm not correct, and around 100 drachmas of the time, local currency. And because she was a woman, she wasn't going to be in prison due to the current laws of the time. And as she pressed an appeal, during the appeal, she was acquitted.
Okay, so she basically, she was one of the, did she accuse the orphanage of doing something? And then they figured out she was involved as well?
No, she was accused. She was found guilty, but she was acquitted.
Okay, I got you. I understand.
There was a strange law that was publicized as how can I say, as a grace for the birthday of the king, and this set free everyone that had convictions under a law, under a year, and this all how can I say, this applied to this midwife. This new limitation.
So basically, no one really was ever punished sufficiently.
Only the director. Only the director.
And I maybe I'm confused, but I remember hearing that. Did he get? Was he in jail during the trial, and they gave him credit for that time that was served during the trial?
I kept my information because otherwise the time won't be enough for me. Yeah, he was sentenced. In prison from the beginning of the procedure during the interrogation time, because the interrogator thought that if he was outside, he could have found a way to bully or to further change all the evidence in his favor.
Okay.
So he was in prison from the early beginning.
So he basically, after the trial was over, really never wasn't in prison anymore much after that.
Well, 4 years of imprisonment in Thessaloniki and offering some volunteer work there. I think he stayed only for 2.5 years in prison. That's why the common sentiment of the city wasn't satisfied as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he wasn't sufficiently punished, obviously. Does anybody have any questions for Elena about the Agios Stylianos scandal? Anybody have any specific questions that they want to ask? Marie wants to ask something, I think. Hang on. Let me undo her.
Okay.
Go ahead, Marie.
Do you know the name of the midwife?
I know the name, yeah, but I'm not supposed to say names. This was the main obstacle of my research. I have all the names from the trial. That's why I only presented you the newspaper coverage and stuff like that. Because there you found the names and their photos as well. I have all the names on my hands, but I'm not supposed to tell you. Otherwise, you and I may have problems.
So
but I know the names.
You say the names are on some of the publications that you said?
On the papers, there were some names.
That I can see? I just want to see if my midwife was the one. I happen to know her name, but not off the top of my head. I'm just curious.
Okay. Well, if you remember her name,
there's privacy laws in the EU that are entirely different from here, so that's why Elena can't really tell you.
Okay, that's all right.
name.
That's okay. It's not a
But
big
if we,
deal.
the papers, I mean, we recorded the whole, the whole 2 days, so you can always go back and look at the presentation.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If I could maybe do that.
But yeah,
Okay.
the privacy laws are different, so she's governed by different ones than we are. If it was me,
it's all right.
I was here, I'd be telling you what their names were.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very informative.
Please message me and I will give you any information and the papers as well.
Oh, thank you. All right.
Okay. And that also may be Kim Cruz had asked some questions about this. But she also had some questions about that too. So if they can message.
I'm here.
Where are you, Kim?
I have a really bad cold, so I can't talk.
Okay.
Are the articles in the paper, have they been translated into English? So if we look them up, no, I didn't think so.
No.
Will they?
Some of them were very hard to find, actually, because you see there were some pages torn, and I had to make too much work to present them to you. But the ones that I have, I can send it to you, and maybe someone with good knowledge of Greek can translate them to you. It's very easy Greek. It's the Greek that reporter uses. Okay. But it doesn't say any names of the babies, because the babies that are presented in the papers are the nurseries ones. Are you really in a photo?
I identified myself by my inmate number in the paper of the picture of myself.
So you can also send me some messages, because I have some papers on my hand, and I do have some numbers. If they were included in the trial, I may be able to help you in some way.
Okay, great.
Well, Elena, is there a let's see, do I have your, I'm trying to think if I have your email. Do you want people to email you if they have questions about this?
Email or Facebook? My email is, okay, I will write.
It's probably easier for them to just contact you on Facebook, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that easier for you, Elena, for them to contact you?
I don't have any problem, but just be patient. Okay. I'll just send you my email as well.
Okay. So if you guys will, so you can contact Elena on Facebook, and she'll send your email. So you can contact her there.
I see that Teresa
I see your email there. So
okay, Teresa, the law is for the whole of Greece. It was a law in 1964. So it applies to every trial that went from then and on, not only for Thessaloniki.
So it applies for all the orphanages, any of them that were doing this. Okay. David, do you have a question?
Yeah, it's not about Thessaloniki though. Once I got to meet my Greek family and it was introduced to everyone, I spoke to an aunt, and she said in 1981, she gave birth to her first daughter and was told the baby died, and she wanted to see the body and they didn't allow it in 1981. And that there were some other women she knows that this happened to. So I don't know if you've heard of any stories like that.
That's common, David, because there are people even in the 70s that have told the same story. And Elena may know more about, what was it, Elena, the Alexandria Hospital? There was a lot of talk about that particular hospital, some of these babies being stolen, basically told they died and they think they were taken for adoption.
Alexandria Agios Stylianos until the date that David has mentioned as well, and the Scandal of Agios Stylianos and the legal procedures and the death of the children were going on until the late 1990s.
Wow.
Just by the time that all you, I would say, adoptees started to search for your roots, because then you make noise. This is my opinion, eh?
Yes.
you made noise, so all the things that were a little bit down on the carpet couldn't be sent like that anymore. And because there are procedures, the procedures for the adoptions have been transformed, according to my opinion, for a better way.
Okay, Hannah, did you have a question? Oh, I can't get the name. Hannah, did you have a question?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you, sweetie.
I'm Hannah.
Hannah, did you have a question?
Yes, I was adopted in 1986 by Swedish parents. They told me that the law in Greek follows me to Sweden. And the people in Greek, they cannot adopt black kids. Because this is what my Swedish mom told me, okay? I didn't read it online or anything. She said that the people in Greece who are Greek citizens are not allowed to adopt black kids. And they had to, if another country didn't adopt us, nobody would take us because of the color, according to the law. I want to know if it is true. This happened the year 1987. And then they tell me, not when I'm young, I have a half information about my family. When I am 18, they tell me that the whole file is in the bank where my dad works. So when I'm 18, they tell me this. I go by myself without my sister because she had an addiction. She's free now, she's working, she's okay. But at that time, I couldn't call her. So I go in the same office where my dad sits, he's not there. I ask his colleague about the paper, and her file is in my file because we are twins. 15 minutes between we were born. And then the adoption centrum in Sweden, in Stockholm, I'm in north of Sweden. So I pay them, not a big amount of money, but I pay them. And then they give me my file. But my mom was a refugee from Ethiopia. She came by herself to Greek. She delivered us. And the only person who was there is my aunt. And the first letter I sent to Matera Baby Center in Athens was when I was 15 years old. I don't know good English and I have to write in English, you know? So my mom is involved in the writing and they didn't answer. When I'm 18, I get the papers. 2 weeks ago, I'm 35 years old. My mom gave the papers she have in her home in some, you know, somewhere. So she kept all the papers from me. So I'm angry with her. Why I didn't listen to you guys when my sister arrived is because we're fighting. She don't want to find out the truth. There is one person today who working at Matera. She called them, that person who worked there when we lived there. She's still working there, but she's not working that day. She wanted their email, but they don't give her. And now we're fighting. She say, I wanted to go to Greece. I changed my mind. So she tell me the truth that she know. She have some paper. And then she say, oh, you have all the papers. Then 2012, her friend went to Nigeria. She's Swedish. She have 2 kids. And then she start looking for my mom. Nobody tells me this. Melina might know that at the time. I have been used by the Swedish psychiatric system for 20 years, drugged. I looked exactly, when I arrived to Greek, I was in my mom's stomach, you know? She's alone in Greek, the rest of the family is in Ethiopia. When I'm in the group home with convicted people, me, myself, I was never convicted of anything. I had to share a room when I was 18 with murderers. And
let's answer the first question.
Okay, my mom is dead. My mom is dead. I found her 2012. I couldn't talk to her due to the group home rules. They give me internet, but they say if you talk in the night, we will close the internet. It is a big time difference. She's in Canada. 30 days later, she died. And she have a heart attack. She's 47 years old, and we go to the funeral in Canada.
Okay, Elena, the first thing is about the law in Greece, right? So is there a law in Greece that says Greek people cannot adopt a Black child?
In 1987.
In 1987, was there a law that said that?
Nothing that I'm aware of. Since her mother was a refugee in Greece.
It's my Swedish mom who told me this.
You probably had to get advice from a lawyer, because I don't think that any racial distinctions were even at that time.
2013, we were about to go, me and my mom, she said, went to Greek. She said, let us go to Spain because they are racist in Greek.
Okay, okay, I agree with it. There may be racism in Greece, but when it comes to adoptions and to law, the law makes no jurisdictions between the racial ethnicities and stuff like that. You know, there are
so
no
she lied.
limitations.
As far as
I'm not sure.
there's no law.
And is it true that the law follows me to Sweden due to that I cannot get information that there is more paper in the bank account, and they tell me when I have my 18th birthday, because the Greek law say I cannot go and pick the paper, so nobody tells me the paper is there.
The Greek law cannot apply in Sweden because you're.
But I was never a Greek citizen. I came here by temporary Ethiopian passport.
Yeah, so like Greek law doesn't follow you somewhere else. Like the Greek law would only apply like if you're trying.
But nobody told me there is more paper.
Well,
I had half a paper.
If you're trying to get your paper from Mitera, you have to get it from them. You can.
I got the paper from Mitera from Sweden when I was 18 years old, according to the Greek law following us to Sweden. I don't know about this paper until my 18th birthday.
Okay. But they don't, I don't think the law, the Greek law does not follow you to Sweden. You have to, if you, you can get the Greek law that was passed in 1996 says that an adult adoptee, 18 years and older, can get their adoption records. That's great that they let us get them, but the thing is.
But not before that, even if all the papers that I don't know is there, is in the whole time for 18 years in my town, in the bank of my town, where my dad works, who picked us in Greece with my mom.
Yeah, but
so
that doesn't, whatever he has in a bank has nothing to do with the law in Greece. That has nothing to do with anything.
But the papers are locked in the bank.
If you apply to Greece to get your papers, you can.
But the papers was in Sweden, in the bank.
I understand, but the papers in the bank, when they decide to give them to you, is totally up to them. It has nothing to do with.
I picked them by myself, showing my ID.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with Greek law at all.
Okay.
It's just what it is. So
the only Linda, sorry, the only provision of the Greek law was that if you are over 80, so therefore if you are an adult, you can ask for all your registered entries in Mitera, Orphanage, Agios Stylianos, and all that stuff. This is the only obstacle of the Greek law.
Right. Well, unfortunately,
it has nothing to do. Yeah, it has nothing to do with your Swedish background, or your the bank accounts, or any bank deposits.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with that. And unfortunately, even for most of us today, it's still hard to get information out of some of these orphanages. So that makes it difficult. Let's see. I don't see. Let's see.
Can I answer to next question?
Yeah, hang on. I'm gonna change the host right now. I don't even see Meryl on here. I'm gonna change the host to Stephanie. So because I have got to go get this COVID test. So you guys finish up. Okay, I just made Stephanie the host. So Stephanie needs to unmute herself. And then if you guys want to talk more after you finish asking questions of Elena, whatever you want to stand around, if you want to talk about some of your stories or whatever you want to do, as long as Stephanie's able to stay, then please go ahead. I'm sorry I have to leave, but I have to go get this test so I can get on that plane tomorrow to get to Greece. So Elena, thank you so much for being here. I'm just telling you from myself, I know they have some more questions. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for your research into Agios Stylianos. And we really appreciate it. And I will see you soon, I hope, in Thessaloniki. Okay. Okay. I'll you guys have a good time. while I'm gone. So if I get back in time, I just have to run up the street. If I get back in time, I'll jump back on here.
Okay.
Good luck.
Anybody else have any questions, as Linda said, for Elena? No?
Stephanie, there is a question that Nick wrote
Go ahead.
about the older adoptions from 1970s to the early 60s. Okay, there is a plausible answer I can provide for this.
Okay.
So it's not one that will satisfy you all guys. I think the DA only pressed charges for the crimes that he could get convictions of, not for all the crimes that he might or might not have found, because he was afraid of the statute of limitations. This is what I have found from the trial's footage so far. Not because he didn't want to, or because he didn't know of more cases than all the final ones that came to trial. He knew that there was a pattern. He knew that there were people speaking. He had all the testimonies from the daycare workers, but he couldn't, how can you say, he couldn't substantiate a trial for so many illegal adoptions. This is my opinion, and I will stick to this. Even though it doesn't satisfy most people, I'm sure with it. But now that the files and the registered entries are available for all of you, since you're over 80, over 18, sorry, I think I would strongly suggest you to go and look for your files. There was a fine archival system in Agios Stylianos.
Hopefully we're going to have the opportunities and, to be able to get to Greece and get those papers. And thankfully, Eftychia is able, with our powers of attorney and our apostille, that we can get these documentations as much as she's able to get without us actually being there. Although it's much faster if we could go ourselves, but that's not always as possible as we would like it to be. So yes, yes. Well, thank you very much, Elena. We appreciate all of your input and your insight, and thank you for a great presentation.
I hope you didn't get tired.
No, not at all. Does anybody else?
I have two comments for Alex Turner. Yes, there were similar behaviors taking place at other orphanages. That is why there is a huge scandal going on and trial going still on transatlantic in Greece as well and in the States as well. I have met some people even in the Netherlands that were adoptees from the Greek orphanages. And the deaf baby scandal was one of the, yes, Panagiotis Kardiskoti, I totally agree with you. The deaf baby scandal was also a common pattern.
Very much so, very much so. Now, does anybody have any other questions as far as what Eftychia project is able to do, what you need to give us, what we need to, general information? I know that you've seen the websites and you know that what our goal is and what we are trying to do. I know that a lot of people have not gotten papers to Eftychia yet, but that's understandable. It's not an easy process. But does anybody have any questions or comments they want to make on the procedures or processes or anything in that respect? Okay, I see a hand over here. Okay, let me see. I am getting new at this, so can you unmute yourself? Okay. I'm sorry, is that Panayota?
Yeah,
Panayota? Yeah, go
It's
ahead. You're good. Go ahead.
I want to ask Elena if the kids that she brought up a few minutes ago from the Netherlands, are they from Agios Stylianos? Or are they from another part of Greece?
The two persons that I know of are from Miter and from Patra, if I'm not mistaken. But there are too many there. They have been organized with a committee, with the annual meetings and stuff like that. So they know their history as well. And they know that they're part of this Greek scandal.
Are they DNA tested? Do you know that?
No, not a clue.
Because our family is searching for two boys from two siblings, baby boys that were lost in the scandal.
Which years?
58 and 63.
It was the peak of the scandals, eh? You should keep searching.
This took place in the southern Peloponnese area.
So probably around Patras territory, around Patras orphanage and
or Athens.
Yeah, and Athens and the Patras were when it comes to the legal adoptions were a circuit as well.
Yeah. Okay, I thought maybe you knew something. Is there a way that we can find out from the? I think there's about 600 of them in the Netherlands. If we could find out if they have been tested on a DNA company.
About the only way to really find that out, Panayota, is if you can go to this DNA websites and you can search by areas in Greece. So if you go on the website and you look on trees, or if you look on where it asks those questions, you can put in if you know a specific area, or if you know just the Peloponnese, you can type that in and put that in, and sometimes the information will pop up. MyHeritage has the biggest, as Linda had said yesterday, it has the biggest, most Greek DNA tests from Greece. It seems to be where a lot of them have gone to. So you may have more luck there. Unfortunately, you have to pay for a membership in order to be able to search those archives, which is the unfortunate problem. That's why getting this DNA database in Greece is so critical, especially for us.
Yeah,
because
you know,
yeah.
Also, Greek families are searching. I understand that the adoptees are searching, but there's some people, maybe they don't even know that they're adopted. So
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. We had a gentleman who contacted us in about the last year who said that he is in his 50s and he just recently found out because his father passed away, and he found out he was adopted and came from Greece. So can you imagine being, I mean, I thought it was bad when I was 23, but can you imagine being in your 50s and thinking all your life you were something?
Stephanie,
yeah.
you grew up in a Greek American household, right?
I did. I was, as
Usually,
I said,
the Greeks don't tell their children that they are adopted unless somebody else squeaks on them.
That is exactly true. And like I said, I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah. So this was not we had a large Greek community in Salt Lake City. We had, you know, our Greek church they were very tight-knit people. We all knew each other. We all knew each other's families. And it wasn't something that was talked about. However, there were probably at least a dozen kids that were adopted from Greece. And now I'm finding out people that I knew that I had no idea they were adopted from Greece, as you said. And the thing is that the way that I found out initially, I was about 12 years old and I didn't know, they never mentioned Greece, but there were, you know, my yaya, my grandmother, was very close with a lot of the Greek ladies, and they would talk amongst themselves in their little coffee clutches, and then they'd go home and talk in front of their children, their grandchildren, because a lot of them lived with their children. And especially those that were widowed at that time. There was a lot of widows that, especially in Utah, because of the coal mine disaster. And the problem is that the kids were teasing me. They kept saying, "You're adopted, you're adopted." And I'd say to them, "No, I'm not." And they'd say, "Ask your mom." So, you know, of course, I went to mom and said, you know, "Oh, the kids are teasing me." And of course, she, you know, gave me the standard answer. "Oh, they're just teasing you. Just forget about it." Well, then later on, when I finally did confront my parents and said, "You know what, the kids are still teasing me. They want me to give them their birth certificate." And I'm, you know, I was upset. I was 12 years old by now, and I was a little upset that these guys were giving me such a hard time. Well, obviously at home, Yaya was talking to either the mother and the kids heard him, and then kids are kids. They decided that they thought it would be funny to tease me. So you know, unfortunately, that's how I found out. Now, we've talked to a lot of the adoptees. Many of them knew from the time they were little that they were adopted. And my philosophy has always been honesty is the best policy, because it sometimes can come back and not be so nice to you. But that didn't happen with everybody. And to be finding out now in our 50s and our 60s, wow, that's just a scary, scary thing. So, yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything, questions or anything? Okay, Teresa? Let me get you unmuted here. Okay.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I have a question in the project part. I sent my paperwork to Linda 4 months ago, and I know that she's making efforts. I'm not critical at all, but my problem is nowhere have Linda or anyone that she's told me about so far been able to identify my alien registration number. It is not on my naturalization certificate. I have contacted the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Florida, where I was naturalized on August 22nd, 1962. They do not keep the records. They told me to contact the
Department of Homeland Security.
Well, I've been through that process
The
too.
FOIA, yeah.
For a different reason. I had trouble getting my driver's license renewed because there was no record of me, even though I had the paperwork. And so I'm in Ohio, the state of Ohio ran my paperwork through HHS to confirm that I was even a legal resident, which I've been a citizen for almost 60 years. And I've had a valid Ohio driver's license since 1975. And I've had a passport in the past. I've traveled out of the country and back, and they were still questioning the validity of my American citizenship. But in the process of all this, I have not been able to find my alien registration number. And I'm wondering if anybody has any tips, because I cannot submit that G639 FOIA request to immigrations to get my immigration file until I have that A number.
Well, you actually can submit it. It's helpful if you have the A number. However, you can try submitting it and put a explanation on there. I don't know that it will work, but unfortunately, you're not alone. We have someone else who has had this similar situation, and they were unable to, they didn't have their number either. And they did try to send it in, unfortunately. But if here's part of the problem. A couple of the instances in which many of us were adopted was that there were people that went to Greece that claimed their wives were men, couples, the wife was pregnant. They went over, the shyster lawyer gave them a baby, and they told everybody, oh, I had my baby early. And they went back to the United States with this baby. And it's like the baby never existed. There was nothing. There was nothing at all, because these babies were considered U.S. citizens because their parents were not Greek, or their parents might have been Greek. They were vacationing in Greece, and they came home with a baby claiming that mom was pregnant when they got there. Yeah. And so those people, several of those instances that have occurred have also had no anything. It's like they were people non grata.
And well, that's not my situation.
Amazing,
That's not my situation. I have the passport of when I was a baby. I mean, I have it here. I was adopted by an American military couple, so there was more steps and processes than most American citizens, because it was all done through the Department of Defense, or at least it was sanctioned by the Department of Defense. So I have a little bit more information that is probably valid. I was born at Alexandria Hospital. I was adopted through Matera, which Linda tells me is the Cadillac of orphanages in Athens. There were 2 other babies that were adopted at the same time as me. In fact, one of them was on the call yesterday. I don't think he's on today. But there are 3 of us that were born within 28 days of each other, that we didn't even know or see each other until we were in our mid-30s. At any rate, my original question is, I cannot find that alien registration number. And I happen to work for a mid-sized, good, strong law firm. And the director of our immigration practice is David Leopold. I don't know if you've ever heard that name, but you may have seen him on CNN and some other news channels. He's very well known in the immigration world and in the legal community. And even he has not been able to help me identify how to get that A number.
Yeah, that is a great question. And unfortunately, I don't have an answer. And I don't know that we know the people that might have the right answer. That's a tough one, unfortunately.
Okay, so do you suggest I go ahead
and people can't tell you how to get at it? Yeah, that's a toughie. But we certainly will look into if there is a way to track it down. We'll try to get some investigative reporting on that, and see if we can't see what if there's another way around it. But if the immigration lawyers cannot give you the information, I'm afraid that's a really, really, really tough situation. And I'm sorry for that. That's just
so do
not
you
fair.
suggest that I go ahead and send in the FOIA request?
I would send it in anyway. You have nothing to lose but a few days and time. All they can tell you is they don't have it. And the thing that's so bizarre is that what everybody it's amazing is that all of us have social security numbers. That have been working and have worked. We have a social security number, like you said. I have a passport, and until this time. But see, my number was on my certificate when I got my naturalization certificate.
And I know others whose number was on their certificate, but mine is not on mine.
Many of them are not. So again, that's going to take a little bit of reasoning. Nick, I see Nick has his certificate. Nick Webb has his certificate there. Is yours on there, Nick? Yes.
Yes, it's on here. I was looking it up because I didn't recognize, you guys were saying A number and I never heard of an A number, but I had to, like Teresa was talking about, I went in a few years back for my driver's license and I had to, I got like a temporary driver's license after driving for 30 or 40 years. They gave me a temporary driver's license and then they requested my naturalization certificate. Yeah, like what Teresa's holding up. And they had to confirm that I was a citizen and all that. And so I was like a citizen on hold. It's kind of, I kind of know how Hannah feels, talking about her situation. You're like, well, what am I, where am I from? And why am I being treated, second class after, after all these years? So it's very frustrating.
Yeah. And again, like I said, that is part of the challenge that we're facing, trying to help you people. And that's it, that, the more information that's missing, the harder it makes it for us too. And especially since we are not you, there's a lot of things that, the individual has to do for themselves. And unfortunately, as I said, it's not that easy. But we are just trying to supply the information that hopefully we can get a way for you to do that. But yeah, if it's not, I'm working with somebody from New Jersey who also has no, or from New Hampshire. She also has no number on her certificate. And we have tried to find it, but I would definitely send it in. You have nothing to lose. Make sure you have your copies and you keep your stuff. And as I tell everybody, one of the things that I try to tell everybody, make sure you keep your originals. Do not send any originals to anybody. I don't care if you go get copies made, if you want to have them notarized, if you think it'll be better, but whatever you do, put those in a safe, waterproof container and hang on to them. Put them in a safety deposit box. I have a fireproof box in my house because that's the only part of me that I have. And if I lose those papers, and I was kind of lucky in that in 2008, I was contacted by someone in Greece. I contacted them through Maxine Deller, and I was scammed out of several $100s because I was told that if I gave this person money, I would get my file, and needless to say, nothing happened. So just trying to reconnect in my mind, I looked at my papers. I had a paper that said ISS on the top of it. It was my American adoption papers. Never thought my mother would have ever had those. I thought when my mother was so, you know, trying to hide everything, that there would be no papers. And my mother passed away. I found these papers. So I called ISS. They sent me up with a caseworker, and she said, well, I'll send to Greece. I said, do I need to send you any money? No, you don't need to send us anything. Just send us the information, blah, blah, blah. Here it is, and we'll get back to you. Well, she said it might take a while. About 6 weeks later, I got a notification from her. We found your file and we're sending it. And I was ecstatic. I didn't know what to do. So she said, once it comes, it'll be another 2 or 3 weeks till we get it translated and blah, blah, blah. I said, I will pay express mail. Please just send me these papers. And I was just flabbergasted when the papers came. And they say sometimes be careful what you wish for and what you look for, because you might not like what you find. And there was some notes in there that didn't make me very happy. And it's a long story, but you know, nevertheless, I found out that I found this document that said I had as many of you have. I know the document that's signed by Mayor Rufus from Patras that said, you know, what you were wearing when you came in, and any details about you as from Mr. Fragoulis, who was also on the papers, who found us in the box. And it had on this paper that I had been named, that I had been baptized, and that I was left 2 weeks after my baptism, which is not the story I was told at all. So I got information that I never expected to find from those papers from the ISS. But again, I was lucky, because I know a lot of the people from ISS have not been that lucky to find their documents. So anyway, any other questions? Anybody else want to chime in here? Meryl,
can you hear me, Stephanie?
Yes, I can. Yes.
I'm working off.
Go ahead, sweetie.
Oh, I'm working on a cell phone. I apologize. So I don't have all those buttons to press.
That's okay.
But I had a huge argument in New Orleans, Louisiana with immigration, because they were asking me for my number. And I said that I had never had one. Because, you know, I don't know all these laws and rules. And they were able to dig back in the files. I was born in 1954, came to the United States. I'm from the municipal foundlings home in Athens. And the 10 years that you have to go to the post office every year to register. So 10 years after 1955, they still had a Xerox copy of the alien number, you know, like the whole card, the whole green card with that number on it. So I'm not saying be disrespectful, but kind of be a little forceful, and you can get it. At least it did for me, you know?
It can't hurt to give, like I said, you just got to try. And like Mary Ellen said, it's you have to, you're your own best advocate in all of this. And I try to stress this to everybody. You have to remember that this is about you, and the more information that you get, the easier it's going to be, as it is for us to try to help. So if it's at all possible, like I said, Teresa, give it a shot, send it in. All they can do is say, we don't have it, but, you know, tell them, you know, I've gotten all this information, and this is my paper, and I have, and do anybody else have a little plastic card that they had with their naturalization papers? Is a little plastic card that was laminated that had their new name on it and their birth date on it. It said it was your birth certificate. Does anybody else have that? Okay, well, I had this plastic card, and I don't know why, but it was with my naturalization papers. And when I asked my mother for my birth certificate, when I was getting married and we were going on a honeymoon and I needed to have my birth certificate, that's what she handed me. But it's not in my birth name. So unfortunately, it doesn't do any good. But as Mary Ellen said, just, you know, you're your best advocate. just don't, like she said, just make sure you let them know that you're not going to give up, that you're going to keep trying. So, okay, anybody else, or are we about ready to wrap it up, or anything else that we can tell you about the project or about anything else going on? We're looking forward to being together in real person, people touching and hugging and crying and all those wonderful things in Franklin next year. And hopefully, you know, God willing, we'll all be there. It's you know, it's great to be able to see these faces on here and to be part of this. And you know, so but yeah. Merrill, are you still there? I think Merrill stepped away from his computer for a minute, but I want to thank you all for being here. Merrill, did you want to kind of say some stuff here? So, because I know she was looking for you when she left, so go ahead.
Yeah, I've been in and out. I've been having audio trouble. Now that this thing's about to end, everything's working fine. So that's par for the course. Just real quick, something about the A numbers. I just looked at my certificate. I got it framed. I don't know how you can see that, but there's no A number on my certificate. But the one thing that I know you should be able to find your A number on is your petition for naturalization. Not your naturalization certificate, but your petition for naturalization. So that's something that maybe could, well, that's a good question too. I know some states, I have found, I searched for mine on Ancestry because they are on there from some states. Different states apparently have different rules. I'm in Missouri, and the naturalization certificates were only available up to, I think, 1942, I believe. Obviously, that does no good for me. Other states, California, Illinois, and some others, just off the top of my head, I think of those two. They're available up through 91, 95, that kind of thing, and probably could be found there. But I know the A number would be on there. Beyond that, I'm not sure where else to go. It might be easier to get a hold of somebody and find your petition, as opposed to looking for it on a certificate. And of course, like was mentioned, the cards. You got the card.
I see Nick Webb's got one.
Huh?
Yeah. Nick, I see Nick Webb has one too.
Yeah. And I know it was on those cards. I've got my card downstairs, so I just thought I'd bring that up. Yeah, like I say, I don't know necessarily the procedure to finding that out, but I think your petition number would be on your certificate, though.
Yeah. Look, you can see, are there any numbers at all, Teresa, on there of any kind? No, just names and stuff.
Just the court's number.
Okay.
Just the, let's see. Yeah, it's just a court number that shows, or I guess INS's number. It's right up here in the top corner. I know you can't see that, but there's no A preceding it. It's a 7-digit number.
What do the numbers start with?
790
Okay.
213.
All right. So I am I don't know if you're in the DNA process or if you are if you have DNA on any of the websites, but I have
not started that.
Okay. I have full access on Ancestry. So if you'll private message me when you have time and give me the information, I will try to go on Ancestry and see if I can find your petition.
Cool.
It may be on there. I don't know. But as I said, I'm going to do everything I can to try and
Thank
help
you.
you. So please send me that information. My relatives have all gone now. I'm free for a few weeks. We're going all the way on a vacation, but I do this from morning until nighttime. So if you're, if you can, send me whatever is available. And I can also give you my my email address if you
That
want.
would be easier because I have everything scanned. I can just send it to you, just like I sent it to Linda.
Are you on Facebook?
I am.
Okay. Friend me on Facebook, or I will friend you on Facebook, and then I will send you my email address and we'll start there. And I will.
Okay. I don't know your last name, so you have mine.
Pazoles. Pazoles.
Okay, great. I will.
So if you see a friend request from me, that is I.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and anyone else in the room, if you're, that's what the intake coordinator does. Give me whatever information you have. If I make you a file. I have a big old catalog book, and I will do what I can to find what I can. And what we can't find here, then when we have a chance, then we'll move forward. But we can't move forward until we have information. Anybody else? Any more information? Meryl, anything else you want to say? Oh, Nick, wait, Nick Webb's. Wait, go ahead, Nick. Come on.
Okay, try to get me to shut up, right?
No,
No.
I mean,
it's not.
I'm just new hosting, so I'm
no,
new
you're
at
fine.
this.
Once I start, it's terrible. So yeah, no, I didn't even know I had a card till Meryl said, and so I started looking, and yeah, so none of my stuff has an A number, Teresa. So I don't know. They may call it an A number. So my card is an acknowledgement of filing the petition for naturalization. It's with the Superior Court in Santa Ana, California. I grew up in Anaheim. And so that number is just 5191. And that number is on my naturalization papers. And then the number in the upper right-hand corner, I do have the same, well, obviously not the same 7-digit number as yours, but very similar. I have 7829736. And then on the left side below where it says certificate of naturalization, there's a blank space where it says petition number, but mine is the same as on the card. It's 5191. So do you have a spot below where it says certificate that it says petition number?
No, I'm not seeing that on here.
Isn't that crazy? Because this is a form from the United States government. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, mine was done in the Northern District of Florida.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just, it's so confusing. I do know that.
Can I ask something?
Sure.
Robin, go ahead.
On your certificate of naturalization, okay, I have a number up at the top. It's 8512009. Directly under that, it says naturalization. And then it says there's there's a registration number and a blank and a space for the registration number. You guys don't have that on your certificates? Don't pay attention to this. I had to get a new one because I lost my original. It's right underneath naturalization.
Yeah, I don't have registration number. I have petition number, and then I have number, like Teresa in the upper left, or excuse me, upper right. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, well, now that I'm looking a little bit more after what Nick said, there is a petition number. It's on the upper left.
Okay, that's key.
Does it start?
Okay, great.
Is there
you have a number?
No, it's just 2469. There's no letter with it.
Yeah,
but it's a petition.
I think that's it. Yeah, my petition number, and that's what's on my little card here. It's the same.
Oh, cool.
Number,
okay.
5191. So I think you have one. I think someone's, getting all upset over this, having an A digit in front of it. I don't know that I'm not a lawyer and I don't even play one on TV, but I would think that's probably, that petition number is probably your petition number, same as mine, because this is what went to the state of Utah, so I could get or probably the federal government, so I could get my driver's license once again.
Yeah. So like I said, copies, get them to me. I will take a look at them, but definitely, like I said, send the copies to for FOIA. And like I said, all they can do is tell you they can't find anything. But if you send them everything you have, then we'll see. In the meantime, I'll see what else I can find out as well.
Thanks for your help.
No worries. Kim, did you want to say something? I see your
I have a quick question. What do you want us to send to you? What kind of copies?
Copies of your whatever documents that you have. If you have Greek adoption papers, American adoption papers, if you have your naturalization papers, if you have the identification card, if you have any communication between whoever facilitated your adoption, if it was ISS, AHEPA, PICPA, whoever it was, if you have any kind of documentation, and I know it's a lot of paper to send, but go make copies at Kinko's or whatever, at work, at home, whatever, or scan them in your computers and send them to me by email.
Mine was done by an attorney in Wisconsin. And my parents went over to get me. So I had a Greek attorney and one in Wisconsin. I did get that file that Linda told me to.
You got the file? Okay.
Yeah, it's like 337 pages.
Okay, so you have your file then. Okay.
I haven't finished reading it. Is there anything I should be specifically looking for? Is there really, so far, is there anything in there that I haven't found out beforehand?
Well, everybody's case is going to be different because everybody, we're looking for different things. But if you have that file, then you and I, or you and Linda and I, we need to talk. We need to see what information we need to get off of there. So the most important things is if it says who dropped you off, where you were, what your anything, if it doesn't say who your guardians were, if it doesn't say
anything,
then that's the thing. But if we can get the Greek file, have you given Linda Carroll your paperwork, the apostille and the power of attorney?
Yeah. Her husband.
And don't forget, everyone, because of COVID, all the offices were shut down in Greece. And also don't forget that in August, all of Greece shuts down. This is like the holiest time, one of the holiest times in Greece, because it's the ascension of the Virgin Mary. It's the 15 days of the fasting for the Panagia. So right now, and during COVID, all the offices were closed, and it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. So again, unfortunately, once again, our hands are tied. But I will, like I said, either Facebook message me, friend me, and I will do what I can to make sure that I get, I don't care if you send me lots of paper. I don't want you to have to pay for it. But so Kim, we'll go through, you and I'll talk later, and I'll see what we need to get from you. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Anybody else? Because I think it's about time to wrap this up. I know we could talk forever, and we will try to do this again real soon and be able to have some more stories. Again, feel free to contact me anytime, as well as Linda Carroll. I know she's really busy doing her work with the all of the things, but I'm available, and I know Meryl is available. And if he can't answer it, I will try. If I can't answer it, he will try. And between us, and Maria will try to find out whatever we can to do the best that we can in our what's the word I'm looking for? The best that we can with what the resources we have. So, okay. So I hope everybody has a great evening.
Stephanie,
Thank you all again.
I've got some good news to tell you.
Ahead.
I've got some good news.
Great.
Maybe everybody would like to hear this.
Yes.
We are arranging a meeting with the ambassador of Washington, D.C., at the Greek embassy in D.C. So Linda can ask for things through the consulates throughout the states.
Excellent. Excellent.
Because they are not giving any help to you guys.
No,
yet.
they are not. They're rude.
So I think maybe in this week we can set up a meeting here with her and Linda.
Yes.
And she was very interested in the Eftychia project.
Very good. Thank you very much, Panayota. And like I said, and if you know, sometimes we stumble on these people, and sometimes it's a matter of just getting the foot in the door, and hopefully they'll be able to help us. So again, I thank you all. God bless you all. Everybody have a wonderful evening, the rest of the weekend. And again, please feel free to contact me anytime. I usually get back to people right away. So if I don't, it's because I've missed your message. So please feel free to contact me again. And yeah, everybody be well, be safe, be healthy, and we'll see everybody soon. Okay.
Bye.
All right. Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.
Wonderful.